I think we're live.
Oh, cool.
Usually there is a little I or something that is a bit weird, but I think we're live. We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, hello. My name is Julien Masson from Adrenaline Combatives, and I'm here with Jamie Seal from Seal Martial Arts. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's it.
How are you doing, man? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I literally just, like I said, I've been taking some time off at the moment from teaching, just relaxing for the summer, and then I'm gonna get back to it, like literally on the 12th, and really hit it. So it's all good at the moment.
It's awesome, man. We all need a bit of time to do what we need to do. I mean, things can get hectic in the adult world. Depending on what work you do as well. But, if you're running your own business and you're doing a few bits and pieces as well on the side and the family and girlfriend and all this, it's all taking a lot of time. So, yeah, good on you, mate, for getting a bit of time.
This is it. We do quite a lot, to be fair. Like literally, like I've run SEAL martial arts probably for about 9 years. I moved up here from Portsmouth. Like I grew up in Portsmouth for ever since I was born, obviously. But I grew up in a place called Clanfield, and then like literally, I moved to somewhere called Horndean. And then I was working on the doors in Portsmouth. My family owned a security company, like literally. So we used to get. It was a good experience, you know what I mean? But I moved up here probably in about 2014, 2015, like, and I noticed that there wasn't a ninjutsu dojo in rugby, so I was like, right, we'll get it set up. And then it's just gone from strength to strength. We started, I think it was in a women's institute hall, then a community center, and then we've built it to the point where we've now got a full-time dojo. We've got all the weapons and everything in there. We've got live blade insurance and do samonogiri, like test cutting and freestanding targets. We also teach knife and axe throwing and shuriken jitsu.
That is awesome.
I run an embroidery company as well, so we make clothing and different bits and pieces, and we do loads of printing and designing and certificates and all sorts, and sublimation and vinyl. And I've just massively got into like 3D printing at the moment, so I'm making all sorts of random bits. Yeah,
mate, that is super interesting. I mean, I've looked into 3D printing, and at first I couldn't wrap my head around it. It's like, how can you 3D print? I just can't even picture it in my head. But you know what? I've looked a little bit into it, and the stuff that people can do is scary. Do you know that people actually in America somewhere, people actually make weapons?
No, they do. Like
3D printed?
I'll show you this, Julian. This is
talking like
3D printed.
I'm
Like
talking
literally.
like guns. Whoa, really?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's 3D printed. Like literally, it's made out of PLA, so that's not a real one. Like literally, but you could make it out of like PETG, which is a lot stronger. Or even the mechanism. Once you understand the mechanism, realistically, you could put a real blade in there. I wouldn't advise it because OTFs are totally illegal in this country. But it's like you said, it's scary what you can make. Like I bought a monster of a machine yesterday, like literally, to make some, because I want to make some like throwing knife holsters and stuff like that for like promos. Do you know what I mean?
Kydex and stuff like that. Yeah, you can do really good stuff. Yeah.
But it's like you said, it's scary what you can make off of it, especially with the firearms and stuff. But I think
I was watching a little documentary the other day, and I was seeing that people in America actually make firearms that are 3D printed. It's mad.
110% they do. They've made like parts for AR-15s, and they make like concealable pistols that are like one shot and all sorts of like crazy stuff. But the thing is, definitely don't do that in the UK. If you do that,
of course,
it would automatically get flagged.
Stay within the boundaries of law. And we said that obviously because the conversation that we're going to have also, it's really going to be revolving around weaponry, like old school weaponry, like traditional martial arts that are weapon-based systems, and how it evolved, and how it evolved into what it is today in certain areas. Obviously, some people stayed with the traditional, and then there's people like me that kind of made it evolve to its modern utilizations, right? But yes, so it's good to remind people, stay within the boundaries of law. If you train with weapons, all power to you. I love weaponry. Jamie loves weaponry. It's brilliant for the mind, for the soul, for the body. It's really good stuff to learn. But then again, we're not in any way, shape, or form telling you to go out with weapons and to go and hurt people, right? That's definitely not us, right?
I work as partner with Cold Steel and a couple of other wholesalers in the UK. So like we do a lot of stuff, like literally in terms of like the law and how everything's changing, like all the stuff with the crossbows. I knew that they were getting taken off the market probably about 2 months ago now.
Yeah.
But this is exactly the thing. It's kind of like, it's like you said, like, despite the fact that I work with them, I've got live blade insurance, like literally, like I'm surrounded by it all the time. I would never carry a knife. Like literally, you don't need to. Like a lot of the weapons training, I think when we sort of, unless you're like operational and you're doing something like you're doing, Julian, where you're doing close protection and stuff like that. But like as a civilian, I don't need to carry a knife. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah. The thing is, in the UK, regardless, you're doing close protection or what, we're not allowed to carry any weapons, right?
Yeah.
Like I say, you know, if obviously if you want to carry like what I call tools, right? Aids, like toys, tools of your surroundings. Did you know that one? Toys, the acronym toys.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, definitely.
Tools of your surroundings, right? So things that you can have on you that are not weapon by designs or not improvised weapons, but stuff that could potentially have some weapon attributes in the event of the worst case scenario that you could utilize as one.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
you know, it doesn't matter what you do, unless you're a soldier, you're a professional soldier. Weapons in the UK are strictly prohibited. Any offensive looking object will be called a weapon.
Yeah. This is it. I had it myself last year. Like literally, I bought a collection of. That's it.
Yeah.
I literally bought a collection of knives off of someone on Facebook who was a collector. I think there was one or two that were questionable that were in this box, and then the next day I had like 8 police officers here. They were trying to seize my swords and everything like that because I've got live blade insurance. I've got an exemption legally anyway. Like, so it's not really an issue. They returned my swords and we got it all sorted. But you need to have your your ducks in a row, for want of a better expression, because it's like you said. If I walk down the street and I've got a sword, I can put it in the boot of my car. I can take it from here to the dojo, and that's fine. But if I go from here to like co-op, then to the dojo, like I've broken the law. And this is exactly the thing. They don't mess about at all. Like
I know. And you know, you might agree with it or not. I mean, you know my stance on that, mate. You know, I think that the Americans are onto something with the Second Amendment. I fucking wish it was the same here, because you know, if it was up to me, I think everyone, not everyone, but I think that people should have the choice and the possibility to own a firearm if they wanted to, with the proper training and with the proper mentality. And obviously some checks should have to be carried, right? To check people mentally, emotionally, psychologically, see if they are actually fit to own a firearm, right? If they're responsible. But I think that, you know, having said all this, that if you are a responsible adult, right, that you should be able to carry a firearm. Why not? Why fucking not? Do you know what I mean? But you know, obviously it's illegal in this country, and you know, you gotta abide by the law. So it is what it is, man. But is it to say, because that's an argument that I've heard a lot from people that watch my videos, especially the stuff that I do with firearms or stuff that I do with blades, short, long blades, with all the weapons. They're like, fucking hell, why do you train this? Why do you train the knife? Why do you train the guns, since they're illegal in this country? And I'm like, this is the most close-minded argument I ever heard, right?
Yeah, 110%.
The UK is not the whole fucking world, right? You do travel. You do travel sometimes to countries where you can carry a knife legally, right? I went to Lebanon. I went to Lebanon last year. I'm going back there in November because my business partners are over there, and I do my firearm training over there. And I'm going to be organizing a lot of stuff in Lebanon in the next, well, you know, when things calm down a bit. But where I'm going it's not, you know, it's not dangerous where I'm going. What's happening near the border with Israel and all that. But what I'm trying to say is that, you know, I was in Lebanon last year. I'm going there again this year. Sorry, I was in Lebanon this year already. Yes. And I can carry a blade there. That's not a problem. It's legal for me to carry a fixed blade, right? I think it's below a certain length, but I can legally carry a fixed blade in Lebanon. So why not? Why fucking not, right? And why should I not be trained to use that blade in the event of the worst case scenario, right? Same thing with a firearm, right? In some countries, firearms are legal, right? There are legislations, there are things, there are paperwork to sign, there's things to do. But, you know, not everything happens in the UK, and I'm not stuck in the UK. I'm traveling a lot as well. So why not? Why not train to learn to use blades and firearms. The thing is that criminals don't care about laws. That's why they're criminals, right? They disregard laws completely. That means that any criminal that wants to carry a firearm will carry a firearm regardless of the laws or the consequences that are set out there for those people. So if you encounter someone like that, and maybe that for any given situation that your life and the life of your loved ones depends solely on your ability to operate a handgun or a revolver or a rifle or a shotgun, then you should fucking know it, right? You should
110%.
So for me, any knowledge, any skill set that would give me the edge on the most dangerous man in the world, which is the most dangerous men in the world, let's just face it, are army special forces or police armed response, right? Or criminals, career criminals, people that killed people and that love it, that will do it again. So
well, I've told you before, Julien, about like how my family were down south. They owned like 6 pubs, 2 nightclubs, like literally, and had a security company. And they got involved in all sorts of crazy stuff, like literally. And like you said, I've seen people with shotguns and handguns. I had a handgun put to the back of my head at one point, like literally. And this is exactly the thing. It's kind of like, it's not something that doesn't exist in the UK. I've said to my wife quite a few times, I'm like, I want to move to America because, like you said, if I was over there, I'd definitely be getting firearms, sort of protecting my home. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is exactly the thing. Like, all the stuff that's going on with the riots and everything at the moment, like, literally, like, it's worrying. Do you know what I mean? Because
it is.
What if it kicked off into something? You don't know. Like, literally, I've got a 7-month-old daughter, like, literally, so I'm only concerned about her safety. Do you know what I mean?
I know, bro. And look, this is an argument that I've been talking about shit like that for the last 15 years, mate. Right?
Yeah.
I've been talking about the societal breakdown and things, blowing out of proportion. And look what's happening now. And it's not only the UK, man. It's all over the world. People are fighting in the street. It's civil unrest and all that. And I said to people, right, for now, it's one of those things, right? You can just avoid to go to certain cities when there are riots and things like that. But the day when there are food shortages, the day when they decide to pull the plug and there's no more electricity, no more gas, no more this, no more that, all the people that are so dependent on the system, they will not know what to do. Now, the day when there are food shortages and people start looting Tesco's and Aldi's and Asda's and Sainsbury's and all that, at that point, this is the point where you're going to need to take action, because guess what? When there is no more food to loot in the shops, guess what they're going to be doing next?
They're
coming to your house. They're coming to my house. They're coming to everybody's house. And it doesn't matter whether you're good or bad. Look, you got a little daughter, right? If your little daughter is hungry, doesn't matter whether you're a good man or not. If you need to go and fucking break into people's houses to feed your family, you will do it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You end up going into that survival sort of state, isn't it? Like literally, and this is exactly it.
Exactly. And that's what I said to people. Now it's time to start thinking about your game plan and what will you do if it comes to that. Hopefully it doesn't, right? It's always like that. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst, right? So, if it doesn't come to that, brilliant. We'll continue living our life the best we can and try to be as happy as we can and make the people we love around us as happy as we can. And that's it. That's what life is about, right? But if it does come to that, then we need to be organized, right?
Yeah.
We need to be organized, and we need to, I don't know, mate. I'm thinking about creating communities, off-grid communities somewhere in the fucking wilderness and get away from this fucking madness. Do you know what I mean?
It makes sense. I actually have a student, literally, that I taught his kids. I won't mention any names, like literally, but I taught 3 of his kids for a while, and he basically got to this point where he had a business. He was making about £1 million a year, and he just sacked it all in, bought like a sort of what do you call it, like an RV, like a sort of motorhome type thing. Just started traveling around the world and giving his kids like experiences. He's in Spain at the moment. He was trying to get me to go over there to do a seminar.
Good on him that he's got that he's actually got the freedom to do that.
Yeah, that's it. Like
all of us do. I'm trying to prepare myself for the future, for my, I'm trying to prepare my financial future, something that I've not really thought about since the last 3-4 years. Do you know what I mean? because I've been teaching, I've been doing my thing just for the love of it, and I've not really been thinking about. I always wanted to be successful and teach seminars all over the world and do things, right? But never really thought about shit. I'm 37 now. In 3 years, not less than 3 years now, I'm gonna be 40. Do you know what I mean? I need to start building the future, man.
This is it.
So,
Like you need to get to that point where it's kind of like you're, like you said, you do some great stuff with Adrenaline Combatives and everything like that, and you could really turn it into something where you're making bank, you're making serious money. But it's just building it up, because it's like you said, I had the same concerns. I'm like, I've got a daughter now. I need to buy my house. We've got assets. We've like built it up into different bits and pieces. So it's kind of like we've got multiple revenue streams, because you need that as you get older. Like
it's
literally,
really good to do, yeah, yeah. Like it's all, it's all about creating that. And I've heard somebody speaking about, it was Paulo, Paulo Rubio, who
yeah,
came
yeah.
to England not long ago, and I heard him saying that, and I know where it came from. It came from Mick Hoop, right, who was explaining the difference between building an empire and building a legacy.
Yeah, that's it. I say this all the time, that I want to build a legacy, like literally, like
That's it, and that's it, and that's what I'm thinking myself as well. Like, building a legacy, but at the same time, why should we not be able to live comfortably while we're here on this planet, right?
yeah.
And all this is down to marketing. All this is down to marketing, and that's all really it is, right? And some people are really good at marketing, some people are not very good at marketing. It's just one of those things, right?
Marketing is a nightmare, like literally.
Mm.
Like I go on about this a lot. I'm not trying to like talk about other schools and stuff like that, but like you'll get people that are like, right, I've bought into a 6 month franchise, I've got basic punches and kicks in this system, like literally. Now I'm going to go out and I'm going to market it, like literally get loads of people in. You've got inexperienced instructors, like literally going out, and they've got no understanding of reality-based self-defense whatsoever, like literally. But then I see it on the other side as well, guys that have been in the game for like 30 years, and they're like, oh well, I'm just disillusioned at this point. It's like your 20% would be way better than their 100%, because you've got that experience, you've been there, you've lived it, you've done it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
It's true. It's just kind of, putting yourself out there.
I think it's mindset a lot of the time.
It's
People think,
it's 100%. It's 100% mindset, and it's not only that. Sometimes you gotta, when they say keep your circle small,
yeah,
because the world is full of cunts, right? And unfortunately, that is the truth. But there are also very good people out there, right?
yeah.
What I'm doing now, and I've been doing that for quite a while, and I wasn't really going to speak about this on the show, but I'll just mention it before we go on to our main subject. Is I'm building MAG groups, right? Mutual assistance groups.
Yeah.
The first person that gave me ideas to do that was Lee Morrison, right? Because Lee Morrison's been talking about stuff like that for a long time.
Yeah.
And Lee, has got a very similar mindset when it comes to preparing the people, preparing the masses. That's his life's work, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you got to respect him for that.
110%.
And so I've decided to already a good while ago to gather people around and to have like monthly meetings with people with similar mindset, generally solid people that do agree on what the world is, how it's being run, and who the fuck is running it, and and how we're being shafted, basically, right?
I genuinely, Julian, off of the podcast, we should have
Yeah.
a conversation about this, because I've been saying the same shit. Like literally, like I see it a lot in the martial arts industry. You get cliques and like circles of people, like literally, where they form their little sort of industry, and then they promote each other over and over and over again. And it's kind of like, realistically, like I've been saying for ages, I want to get real martial artists like Tommy and Tom Edison Penner, and like, do you know what I mean? Like Matt Stater, people that are really, really good, like in the industry, and get them all working together to really teach martial arts with integrity, like literally. And that's the thing.
I think that is a brilliant idea, and what I'm saying with the mutual assistance group is the same spirit, right? Finding strength in numbers, but not just everyone and every Tom, Dick, and Harry, because there's some people that will not be willing to contribute. There's some people that are going to be coming just to rip the benefit out of what we do, and they're not going to be able to not going to be willing to contribute, right? So it's really finding the people that really are on the same page and are willing to contribute as much as they are getting from the from that alliance type of thing.
That's it. You've got to have that. It comes down to mindset again. It's like you were saying, like when you have that mutual respect. I've got people that I just out and out don't respect. I know that I go on rants and stuff on Facebook, and I shouldn't do it literally, but I can't help it sometimes. But it's just one of those things. It's kind of like, when you see the standards dropping and you're like, I literally started martial arts 30 years ago. So the standards were up here. I used to watch like 80-year-old guys flipping like 16 stone blokes about in judo and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, it's about skill. Like I had this conversation with James Stewart and Tom Edison Penner recently about using a karambit. I was saying a karambit isn't a brilliant knife. Like literally, it's kind of like, I'd much rather have a fixed blade, regardless of what grip I was using. I'd rather have a fixed blade than a karambit because it puts your arm in a weird position.
Yeah.
And James was saying to me, he was like, yeah, but you can still utilize it like in a boxing fashion and still make it work.
That's generally how I use it. If you give me a karambit, I'm just gonna be boxing with it. That's
this
what
is it.
I'm doing.
But I was saying that I think if from a traditional perspective, there's a difference between the application and having skill. If like you said, you can use it as a boxing sort of in a boxing way. But then if I use a karambit with Tom, I can't see him disarming me. I can't see what he's doing a lot of the time because he's just bosh taking it. Like literally, and it's like, hang on a minute. And it's that level of skill and that skill set, like you were saying before, that just sucks me into martial arts. Like literally, because it's kind of like when I find those guys, I'm like, that's it. I'm with them. Do you know what I mean? Like 110%.
Well, that's definitely something we can talk about after. But so here, you mentioned the karambit, right? The karambit. There's a few people that have been messaging me and asking me what do I think about the karambit, and do I like it? Do I play with it? Do I train with it? And my answer very often is yes and no.
Yeah.
Basically, do I like the shape of a karambit? Not really, because it's very limiting. I can do much more damage with a fixed blade, like you're saying, than I can do with a karambit because it gives me more options, right? The karambit, because of its curved form, yes, it's good. It's good for boxing, right? And that's generally the only way that I would use it. I would not do any of these roll thing and
No.
This is for the movies, and this is stuff that is flashy, and I'm not into the flashy stuff. I'm in the stuff that fucking works. Do you know what I mean?
This is it. It should be efficient. Like literally, like even when we look at the kenjutsu, like the Japanese swordsmanship, we often talk about having the life-giving sword. So obviously, you can cut someone down. You can do that all day long. But if you can use the last 5 centimeters of the blade and incapacitate ligaments or stop them from using their arms and different bits and pieces, you don't have to kill them, but you're taking them out with skill. Do you know what I mean? Like literally, and it's exactly like you said. Some of that flashy stuff, like with the karambit stuff, it doesn't work. You see people sticking them into their wrists all the time and that, and it's like, come on now, like.
That is the whole point why I wouldn't look. I got a serious issue with changing grips.
Yeah.
Right? And I train it. Don't get me wrong. I train it. If you got I'll do this with a pen where where you got this and you change the grip from hand to hand. Yeah, it's good to play when you're watching the TV just to get a bit of feel how to do it.
Yeah.
Would I do that in a real fight? Never. Because with the adrenaline, the blood pumping, the tunnel vision, hyperventilation, decrease of fine motor skills, all that stuff, you're not going to be able to really cleanly change. Guys that flip the blade with one hand to grab it ice pick and then flick it again to grab it back in hammer grip. With the adrenaline, you will drop that blade.
It's 110%.
Simple, right? You will not be able to do stuff like that. Now, the only time where I would use a change of hand is if somebody's caught my weapon bearing limb and he's got a 2-on-1, and now I got to find a way to grab my blade with the other hand to get him. That's probably the only time I would do that, right? If he's got some sort of Russian tie or some sort of 2-on-1 and I got to go behind his body to grab my blade with the other hand, yes, that's the only way I'm going to do that. Other than that, you see, all this is what I call flashy stuff. That is flashy. It looks nice. It's good for the movies. But with the adrenaline, when you pressure test, you will never make it work. Right?
Yeah, you're not wrong. I had it like I've got a Tanto here, for example. I literally
is that the same I bought from you? Yeah,
this is the same one. I've still got about 20 of these left.
It's a brilliant blade, by the way. Anyone wants to know what I think? I've had some Tantos like that before that were a bit Chinese copies and stuff, and they were all right already. But this Tanto is really, really good, and the blade is really long and it's sharp as fuck, and the grip is it's a really, really good blade. I'm glad I got this one from you, man. And if you do some more in the future, I'll probably get another one.
Yeah, no, I've got some at the moment. This is what I'm saying, Julian. Like literally, but
Yeah,
it's exactly like you said. These are really good replicas of the Cold Steel Recon Tantos.
yeah,
So I've got the Recon Tanto in SK5, like literally, and then I've got the Sandmine one. And this is a little bit bigger. Like literally, don't get me wrong, I love the Sandmine, but I get a bit worried about using it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like it was expensive.
yeah,
But these are banging. Like literally, we get the students to use them for Smonigiri and test cutting and stuff like that all the time. But it's exactly like you were saying. It's kind of like when you get a lot of the flashy stuff, when sort of people are flipping it and doing all this sort of stuff, like you're not going to make that work in reality. I
yeah,
tend to we get it with they call it Teino Uch in ninjutsu. It's like changing grip. But there's one thing with doing it from the traditional side, like literally and practicing like the sort of Tanto Jutsu from ninjutsu. But then I studied FMA a lot, like literally, because I just found that that system was so much more sort of it's got that flow to it, the drills and everything like that. It prepares you so much better. And then with the study of the Fairbairn Sykes knife from Combatives, it's kind of like I amalgamated all of the systems together and tried to take the best bits from all of them. So a lot of the time we'll use it in this reverse grip and like do the pendulum and open them up and then stab quite
yeah,
a few times and stuff like that. It's more about bypassing. And as soon as you, like you said about grabbing clothing earlier, I teach my students to latch all the time. So as soon as you bypass, latch onto the arm, and then you've got them because they can't really turn back into
yeah.
you. Do you know what I mean? Like literally. So this is exactly it.
I think I mean we'll speak about that at some point, but I'd be interested to maybe do like a joint seminar with you, like doing like for blade work or stuff like that, and
Yeah.
see what I'm sure we can learn a few bits from each other, man. That'd be good because I'm
Yeah.
always on the look to learn new stuff, right? And when it comes to my approach with the blade, right, the knife, generally the very beginning of my of my journey with knife fighting or offensive blade tactics, if you want to call it like that, because that's how I like to call it, was with Filipino martial arts, right? So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Filipino blade, mainly to understand the different grips and the different angles, right? The different angles of attack, be it slashing or puncturing, right? And then
Yeah.
mixing all of them and stuff. But I took that from there. But then, all the flow drills and stuff like that with the blade, I never really liked it because to me, it wasn't very realistic. And some of the blocks and some of the stuff that has been done that I would never do, I just
Yeah.
wouldn't do it.
I
Uh,
agree. It's more sort of like I think the drills are good for learning that reactionary sort of
yeah,
training, like literally. But then stuff like the Hubud, you're not going to do that in
yeah.
reality, like literally.
Well,
But then the bypasses can be
yeah,
applied if you get it in the right way. If you look at Libre, for example,
absolutely, yes.
it's kind of their application of FMA is very interesting. And there's an Italian knife fighting guy. I can't remember what his name is. I'll
Yeah,
have to send you the link afterwards.
Danilo Rossi something. Yeah, yeah. Laiolo, Yaloyo.
Yeah,
Laiolo.
yeah, that's it. Like
Yeah,
literally, this is it. And it's like you were saying, it's kind of like when it comes to the knife, I think the knife, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you shouldn't study the knife or you shouldn't teach the knife. But realistically, we live in the UK. You got 13-year-olds with knives. You should damn
exactly.
sure know how to use the knife.
Exactly.
And the thing is, it's like with what we do in ninjutsu, I think the grand total of all the weapons I teach is about 35 different systems. They're all
Yeah.
broken into sections, but I'll send you some information afterwards.
Yeah,
But that's my main role. I specialize in weaponry. Do you know what I mean?
that's what I'm interested about, bro. Like, I think weaponry is amazing. And
Yeah,
to go back to Libre, you were talking about Libre.
yeah,
Libre is my latest influence in my blade work.
yeah,
So at first I had the Filipino stuff, right? And I had obviously, all the basic Krav Maga stuff and all the stuff I did in close quarter combat and stuff, all the different styles and sistema as well.
yeah, yeah,
Because when I grew up in Eastern Europe, I mean, I spent a considerable amount of my life in Latvia, Lithuania, Ukraine, right? So
yeah,
I picked a lot of things there as well from sistema and sambo and things, boy sambo and things like that, and you know, I got all these bits to build a mishmash of my own, right?
yeah,
And then when I got into the Wing Chun stuff and the Jeet Kune Do stuff, it gave my knife work a completely different flavor, right?
yeah,
Just when I fence, for example, if I do knife fencing, right, or knife dueling, right, you will see a lot of JKD, a lot of original Jeet Kune Do, right? I'm talking
yeah,
about the Ted Wong approach, not the Danny Inosanto concepts lineage, which I have nothing against. I think
yeah,
it's great. It's got a lot of great things, and Danny Inosanto produced some very, very good instructors that I have a lot of respect for, and some of which I've trained with and learned a lot from. But I'm talking about Ted Wong's lineage of Jeet Kune Do, which is very, very more compact than that.
Yeah.
You could have a look at what's his name? The Spanish guy, Marcelo something. One sec, I'm gonna tell you now. That is actually quite good. Obviously, the first guy I would tell you to look at is Tommy Carruthers, right? Tommy was my teacher, and I got my JKD lineage from him. I never made it to instructor level, but Tommy Carruthers is the guy. But the guy I'm thinking here is Joaquin Marcelo, right?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so he's also quite good, and it's Ted Wong JKD lineage. So anyway, when you see my stuff with the blade, when I'm dueling, you will see a lot of JKD stuff where I use side kicks and groin kicks and jabbing the blade to the eyes and the throat and stuff. Very, very simple stuff. Rodondos from FMA.
Yeah.
Various bits that I created kind of my own style with the blade. And then after training with Lee for quite a long time as well, Lee Morrison, my blade work became really gross smarter, gross smarter, and really brutal in the way. And that's when I started to box with blades as well. Grab two blades and start boxing with blades.
Yeah.
And then the Libre. The Libre was my latest influence. When I looked at it and I thought, fucking hell, Libre is focusing on puncture more than anything.
That's what I mean. They stab you like 4 times in about 2 seconds. It's literally like, what the hell?
And I think that, you know, the concepts and principles in Libre are amazing, and I use a lot of the Libre principles when it comes to blade work, and I mix it all up together. And, you know, coming back to boxing with blades, I have a lot of friends in here. Manchester, is home of some of the top fighters in the world when it comes to sportive platform like Muay Thai, MMA, Jiu-Jitsu. Some of the best fighters are coming from Manchester, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And so I have some very good friends that are high-level strikers, high-level wrestlers, or both, right? And a lot of them are like, fucking hell, Julien, you know, when are you going to teach me that knife stuff? And I said, mate, you don't need it. Like, you're already one of the most dangerous knife fighters I know. And scratch their head looking at me and said, what do you mean? I've never trained with a blade. I said, but that's the point. You've been training to box. You got your head movements. You got your jab, your footwork. You got your evasive movements. You're good on the offense. You're good on the defense. You're good on the counter offense. Now all you need to do is put 2 blades in your hands and do exactly what you're doing.
Exactly. This is exactly.
And they looked at me and they imagined it in their head and they went, fucking hell, you're right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm saying. People diss sports, you know, and a lot of people in Krav Maga, and I don't like that. I'll be honest with you, right? You'll never hear me dissing sport. First of all, because I've been boxing, I've been doing Thai boxing and MMA for years, right? And I love it. I think that it's the most realistic form of combat out there because it will put you force on force from day one.
Yeah, that's it. Like literally, you're going to learn that you haven't got a glass jaw. You got to get in there. It's the same as like milling, isn't it? Like literally,
in boxing, if you drop your hands one, boom, you get cracked, and you're like, whoa, fuck. You know what I mean? You learn from day one to keep your guard up. So when it comes to all that, right? I'm saying to come when I hear people from the Krav Maga industry, or not all of them. I'm not saying all of them, right? But some of them, a lot of them are like, oh yeah, we train for the street, we train for reality. These guys are just doing sport. And it's like, dude, you've never been on a ring once in your life, right?
Yeah, that's it.
First time. I remember my first interclub, right? I must have been something like 14, 15 years old when I had my first interclub, right? It was a karate, Kyokushinkai Kumite, right? And I had tears to my eyes, man. It was so fucking hard to be in front of somebody that was really trying to hurt me. Yeah, there were rules, right? But, you know, and same thing when I came to Manchester first and I really got into Muay Thai more, first with the G Camp, then with Panikos Yusuf at All Powers Gym, who's a very good friend of mine. It was fucking difficult, mate.
Yeah.
You can never, these guys are some of the best warriors I know. They got mental attributes, physical attributes. They're all spiritual guys and nice and down-to-earth guys, right? And they can fucking fight, mate. Do you know what I mean?
That's exactly it. Like literally, you always find it's like the people like the paper tigers, like literally, that are the ones that are making out like, yeah, I'm well hard, I've smashed like 50 blokes, I've done all this. But it's the nice guys, like literally, that you just
Yeah,
wouldn't see coming from a million miles away, that are
it's true.
actually deadly. Do you know what I mean? And this is
It's true.
exactly the thing.
And you know, after training with so many Thai boxers and MMA practitioners in classes, that taught me to never judge anyone by their appearance.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I know some guys that are skinny as fuck. They're not big. You know, I am a big guy. I'm quite tall. I'm 6'1", and you know, I'm
yeah.
I'm not the biggest of the guys, but I'm not small. Right? I'm quite a big guy compared to some people. And I look at some people that I've been training with that are maybe 6'2", 6'3", right? These guys are semi-pro MMA. Some of them are turning pro, and they're fucking monsters, mate. And you look at them with the jacket on outside, you'd never think. You'd be like, I can take that guy. That guy will rip you a new asshole. Do you
Yeah.
know what
I used to see it when I worked on the door. Like literally,
I mean?
like you'd have like 6'2", 6'3". I'm not going to name anyone, but we had this doorman, like literally, and he was hench. He was absolutely massive, much bigger than me, and this other
Couldn't take a
doorman that was
punch.
working
I
there.
take it, right?
And it kicked off. There was this bloke, like literally, who was like the local sort of badass, like literally around Lee Park and Havant. Like literally had a bit of a reputation. He kicked off in the club, like literally, and this doorman just ran. He did one, like literally, and it was the smallest doorman that was the one that actually dealt with the situation and like tied him up and threw him
Yeah.
out. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, what the hell's going on? Like,
You can never tell. And, you know, like me, you've done the doors for quite a while. So you've seen violence days in, day out. And to be honest with you, you never know. You can never
yeah,
judge
yeah,
a book by its cover. So I've seen little guys knocking the granny out of some big lads and be proper ferocious and proper focused with it. So you know you can never judge a book by its cover. But all that
no,
to say, like, you know, if you want to be a complete warrior, yeah, generally in the way that I teach adrenaline combatives, right, I speak about the Trinity, and I call that the combative Trinity. If you've seen my logo, right?
yeah, yeah. I remember you saying about it, like literally.
Oh, yeah, so my logo represents the philosopher's stone, right? Because I'm well rooted into my mysticism and you know, all stuff that deals with personal development, transcendental magic, and you know, a little bit occultic practices, but not the dark stuff. I don't
Yeah.
dab into the dark magic and all that. You know, I'm all about the light and the love and life, and you know, I'm all
I,
about that.
I 110% get it. When I was growing up, like literally, like my mom's a bit of a strange character, but she was a Wiccan. She used to have like grimoires and stuff like that. They literally and like do a lot of sort of like grounding and meditation and
Yeah,
stuff. And like you said again on the door, like literally, she was the first door woman in Portsmouth. So when I was growing up, like it wasn't my dad going around like literally sort of battering people and knocking
yeah.
guys out. It was my mom. Like literally, she was
Yeah.
hard. Do you know what I mean? Like,
But that, you know, that's what you want, man. And so just to go back to the triangle.
yeah, yeah. Sorry.
No, not at all, mate. So the triangle, right? As it said, triangle means three angles, right? And the trinity of in adrenaline combatives is what I believe is necessary for everyone that want to be complete warriors, right? To
Yeah,
dive into a bit of everything. And I said the first angle, right, represent a solid striking game,
yeah,
right? So learn to be impactive and learn to generate concussive stopping power with your dominant hand, your not dominant hand. Learn to strike, learn to punch properly, whether it's two knuckle landing or three knuckle landing. Learn all the different ways to punch. Learn to strike open hands, right? Learn to elbow, learn to headbutt, learn to knees, learn to use your shoulders, learn to use your knees, learn to use your shins,
yeah,
learn to use everything in an impactive sense and to generate a lot of power. And I'm known as one of those guys that do hits fucking hard. And that's because
yeah.
my
I'll kid you not.
understanding of, yeah, go on.
When the first time I came across you online, Julian, I saw you like smashing some like Bob and biting him and stuff like that. I was like, fucking hell, who's this guy? Like literally, like it looks crazy. But you've got that thing, like literally, where like when you're going for it, like you're focused, you're in that moment. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's good. Like you need that like focused aggression. I say to my students about it all the time. Like literally, like you need that intent. You need to be able
Yeah.
to like switch it on and switch it off. Do you know what I mean? Like
You
literally.
just said it now. The word you just said, switch, right? Create a mental switch where you can access that level of cold clinical aggression on demand on a switch, and
Yeah.
you can learn to flick it on and flick it off as well. it's very important to learn to flick it off as well, because a lot of people, I've trained a lot of people during the years that want to access the aggression. They don't think they have it with them, and I teach them to find it and access it. But also, it's very important for them and for everyone to learn to switch it off, right? I got drills like this. Where that are designed to teach you to flick the switch on and flick it off straight away, right? Controlled, unleashed aggression, or like Bruce Lee used to call it, emotional content, right? So any technique, any skill set should be accompanied by that aggression, but not straight away. When you're learning the movement, learning the skill set, there is a progression. You don't necessarily have to add the aggression straight away. Right? So when it comes to impact, learning to impact, right? There's various stages, and I spoke about those stages of learning, right? You got attribute development phase, you got mindset development phase, you got technical development phase, right? You go what I call like combat development phase, where you start getting close to force on force, but it's gradual. And then you have what I call under duress development, right? Which is now simulations and scenario that are pretty much full contact with protections, and see how far we can go and what you can do. And we can induce adrenaline, right, by cardiovascular exhaustion, right? So getting them to sprint, doing some burpees and stuff, until I can see that they want to quit. They're breathing so hard that they're spitting their lungs out and they want to quit, right? At which point I get them to close their eyes, pinch their nose, and spin them 10 times, so that not only on the cardiovascular level they're fucked, but now they're also disorientated by the spinning. And this would be the best way to induce adrenaline in a controlled environment, right? So these are all stuff that, kind of stages of learning. We don't take new students to that level straight away.
No, I know what you mean.
If you do my seminars, you will experience that level of stress testing, right? If you want to, it's not an obligation, right? But it's something that we take students gradually, and I'm looking to kind of build all that. Obviously, I told you about. I'm already starting to think about how to leave that legacy behind, right? I'm going to finish that, and then I'm going to let you speak also a little bit, because of it.
Cool.
The striking is the first angle, right, of that trinity. The second angle of that trinity would be a solid wrestling background. Know your way around extreme close quarter combat, right? First of all, know how it feels like to be grabbed and bashed about and choked and put in submissions, and learn how it feels to be manned about and bashed off walls, and learn how it feels to be thrown to the ground and have a heavier guy than you just crashing on your body, knocking the wind out of you, and all this. All this, any wrestlers will know what I'm talking about now, right? It's not nice to have 100-kilo guy putting all his weight on your chest and you're trying to breathe somehow, right?
I've got a student called Dave, he's basically a man tank. He's absolutely huge. He's a third dan in my dojo. And it's like you were saying, literally when people spar and stuff like that, if he gets on top of you, that's it. You can't breathe. Literally, this is it. It's like you said, because we do a lot of that, literally. A lot of the time we'll work it up so they're doing basic point sparring and stuff at a low sort of Q grade. Then we do submission sparring, so they're just working on the technical application, getting stuff like takiori, like wrist locks, and like I said, shimewas earlier, doing chokes and different bits and pieces. And then we go full MMA, literally, and get them actually sparring, cracking on. It doesn't matter how long it goes on for. It's literally until submission, or until, do you know what I mean? Literally until they're so knackered they can't keep going anymore. Because like you said, everyone thinks they're 10 men, and then they get in the ring, literally, and do about a minute, and they're like, oh, fuck, can't keep going. Do you know what I mean? Literally, and this
stamina is very important, right? I remember when Paulo Rubio came 2 weeks ago to England, I really liked his humble approach. When he was saying, I'm not the ultimate source of knowledge, I'm just an architect of good training environment. And I like that, because sometimes when you teach seminars, especially when you teach street combat, street fighting and combatives and stuff like that, you feel like you need to have that image of the solid guy that can fucking have it hard, hard guy and stuff.
I know exactly what you mean, Julien. This is why I grew the beard today, because I'm angry combative.
But do you know what? I mean, do you remember how my bed used to be when I was
Yeah.
training with the UC guys, when I done my instructor development program with Lee and stuff like? And you know, now I'm just starting to think, that Paulo is very true in what he's saying. He's coming to the seminar and he looks around and he goes, "There's no way I am the best striker here. There's some of you are better striker than me. Some of you are better wrestler than me,
Yeah.
right? But I'm just here to show you what you can do by creating and manufacturing a solid and a good, healthy training environment for you to learn what you can do." Right?
It's bang on. I talk about this a lot. Like literally, we have this concept of being buyu. It's like a martial brotherhood in a dojo. So we all get on, we all have a laugh, like literally, and you have to have that connection. But it's like you said, like literally, a lot of what I do is isolating what people's specific skill sets are. So for example, I've got a student, Zach, really good with the bow staff, like literally. So it's like, right, proliferate that, get really good at it, master it, and then get that out there. Like literally, teach people Kukishin-ryu Bojutsu. Dave's good with like the spear, like so we've been getting him to do Sojutsu. He's got a seminar coming up, like literally. And this is exactly the thing. It's like you were saying, like Ollie is definitely one of my students. Ollie, he's definitely a better striker than me. He did kickboxing and stuff for years. He's really, really good when he's like on the bag. Do you know what I mean? He's quick, but he's a personal trainer. So it's kind of like everyone has their attributes, their different ways. Like for me, if I was going to fight someone like you, not that it would ever happen, but me and you toe to toe, you're going to kick my ass, like literally, because you're just
Who
bigger
knows?
than me.
You
Like,
never know that, right?
no, but I'm saying the reality of the situation is that was probably it. But a lot of what I say to my students is about hi-ho. It's about strategy.
Yeah.
Don't be like the hardest bastard. Be the smartest bastard. Like literally,
Yeah.
like figure out what you're going to do. If you're going to get someone, get them properly. Do you know what I mean? Don't just stand there and try and prove your ego. And we
That's
call it
it.
dick measuring. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm better than you.
Think about David and Goliath, right? The story. And what you just said, this ego and pissing contests that go on, where you walk into one of those combative class and the instructor's gonna be the guy that's fucking hard, strong, scary and stuff. And it's like, I kind of broke a bit out of that mentality because I realized that there's always going to be somebody bigger and stronger than you. It doesn't matter how strong, how scary you are, and how strong and scary you think you are in your head, right? There's always going to be somebody stronger than you, right? And I'm not here to be the badass guy, the badass instructor that's going to teach you. I'm like Paulo Rubio says, I'm not the ultimate source of knowledge. That's not me, and I don't pretend to be. And I know what I'm capable of.
Yeah.
I know if you mess with my family, my loved ones, I know how far I'm ready to take things, right? Because
trust me, Julien. I get that. I say that a lot, like literally, because I'm not a particularly aggressive guy, but trust me, fuck with my daughter or my wife, like literally, like, I'm gonna end you, like literally, like
right. But so it's about teaching people to access that aggression, but also to learn to control it, right?
Yeah.
And not to live in that world where everybody is the enemy and I'm looking at every corners. I do teach about awareness, right?
Yeah.
I do speak about awareness a lot, and I've done a video not long ago where I'm just brushing the surface on the four levels of awareness, right? Which are personal awareness, environmental awareness, behavioral awareness, situational awareness. And some troll on Facebook's been commenting and saying, bollocks, you're paranoid and stuff, like you wouldn't do this, you wouldn't do that. And I'm like, well, if it's a trained response, right? If you're training to look for things, if you're training to just gathering the intel that the world gives you, right? Then it's not paranoia, it's just awareness, right? And at the same thing, I'm working close protection, right? So essentially, sometimes I got some PPO jobs where I'm a bodyguard, and I got to make sure that the place where we're going is safe. I got to carry a risk analysis, constant dynamic risk assessment, and that's not paranoia. That's just doing my fucking job, right? And if you do that all the time, especially you being a bouncer for a while, you understand what I'm talking about. Awareness is very, very important. It's the ability to see things before they happen, right?
This is it. We call it zanshin in ninjutsu. It's that awareness. If you take someone down, you should always be looking for his 2 or 3 mates that are coming for you. Like literally, you're controlling the situation. I think Russell Jarmeski said it. You should always have this healthy paranoia. Do you know what I mean?
I like Russell Jarmeski a lot. He's a good lad. He's been good to me, and I got the opportunity to meet Jeff Thompson through him. And He's really, really good lad, Russell. Actually, I hope I get him on the show again, because that guy's got a lot of things to say, and he makes a lot of sense with what he's saying.
He has. I like his application, like literally, and the way that he relates to psychology. Quite a lot of the time when I'm in the dojo, I'm going through it with my students and sort of explaining, like, if they're walking away but they're being abusive, like literally, then obviously, do you know what I mean? They're not engaging. They're like just the basics, or the stuff that he does with throwing the 50p coins. Like literally, like that's old school ninjutsu. Do you know what I mean? Like literally, and like this is exactly the thing. I've got a lot of respect for Russell. Like I've never trained with him personally, but I used to be good friends with Anthony Pillage, like literally before he passed away. And to me, Russell basically took over a lot of what Tony was doing, like literally. So he's like he's an important person in the martial arts community. And this is exactly the thing, but like 110%. Sorry, I'm not trying to rant on.
No.
But Tony was a legend, like literally. And Tony had this thing where he brought everyone together. He basically made the martial arts community realize that all you needed in this life was love. And that's exactly what you're saying. It's not about being a badass. It's not about being evil. Like I could blow someone's fucking car up. I could do all that shit, but I wouldn't do it because I'm not a bad person. Do you know what I mean? Like,
moral compass, right? And that's the thing, man. That's what I'm thinking. It's kind of constant mode of evolution. If you're a good person, you're always constantly looking to evolve, right? And you're not scared to change, right? And that's what I'm just thinking. I was just thinking, how can I do my job as an instructor the best I can and not intimidate people? Because there's a lot of people, right, in the world of combatives that are intimidating.
Yeah, 110%.
People don't want to train with them because people are scared to be around them, because they're scary people, right? And I don't want to be that person. I want to be a person that is relatable, that people can relate to. People can come and talk to me because they know I'm a nice guy. They can relate to me in many different ways. And I like to have a crack. I like to joke. I like to be that person that's here to help people, right?
But that's what I'm saying. Like when it comes down to it, Julien, I'm not one of these ultra like traditional instructors. Like literally, like when it comes down to it, community is really, really important. If you want to be successful, you need to have that community. You need to have that understanding with your students where they can approach you. If you look scary, then they're just going to go, I've got an issue. I'm not going to talk to him. I'm leaving. I'm gone. Like literally.
That's it.
And this is exactly the thing. So it's kind of like, if I know one of my students smokes weed or something, like literally, I'll be like, well, you shouldn't be doing that, but I don't care because it's not my business. They live their life how they live their life. If they want to just get high and do a bit of ninjutsu, like literally, like have some fun and then go home and play Ghost of Tsushima and like that's their world, cool. I get a lot of geeky people that come in and play like Dungeons and Dragons and do different
why not?
But that's what I'm saying, like at the end of the day, that community is important. Like literally knowing it's sort of, if you've got someone that's moved from like London, they don't know anybody, like literally, and they're like, right, I'm stuck here, I'm isolated, I'm feeling suicidal, I'm gonna go and try a martial arts class. And then they go there and they've got like 15, 20 people who all want to be their friend, changes their world. And that literally, this is exactly the thing. Is why I'm a qualified solicitor, but why I run the dojo is because I feel like I have a positive impact on kids. I see kids coming in and they're terrified, they're scared of the world, they've been isolated because of COVID and stuff like that. And then you'll see like little Jimmy start using bows, throwing rubber shuriken, making friends, they're meeting up, going for parties, and they want to do parties in their dojo and stuff like that. It's all about love, that community. Do you know what I mean?
That's it. And as long as you stay within that framework, right, you can never go wrong. And that's really what it is. And so what's yes, I was saying about the just the last bit of the Trinity.
Sorry.
So the last bit of Trinity is what we're talking about. What we're going to talk about is a solid game of weaponry. Being able to use anything as an extension of your body from any ranges, right? And being able to use any of the weapons. So you remember I spoke to you about the different categories of weapons, the different families of weapons. And, when you start developing this mindset, you look around you and you realize, because I do this with my students, I get them into a room or when we go somewhere and I'm like, right, look around you. What do you see? What could be used as a weapon? What category of weapon does it belong to? What family of weapon does it belong to? And they look around and, that could be used as a projectile. Yeah. That could be used as a shield, right? That could be used as a point and edge weapon, right? That could be used as an impact weapon, right? And they start thinking like this, and it creates a different type of mentality. And as you know, combatives is really about becoming the protector and building that soldier mentality, right? Because essentially combative training is the training, the skill set training that's being taught to soldiers, right?
Yeah.
Learning how to fight empty-handed and with weapons, any weapons, firearms, all that stuff. Learning to drive like your life depend on it. So learning to drive offensively, defensively, evasively.
Yeah.
Learning about TCC, tactical emergency casualty care, combat casualty care, how to stop heavy bleeding, treat gun wounds, all that stuff. And also counter custody, escapology, evasive tactics, how to pick handcuffs, how to fight with your hands tied at the front, at the back, right? All that stuff is part of combative training. And you know, that's just the combative, right? There's other stuff that fall into the soldier skill set, right? But it's all about the mindset. And when it comes to weaponry, right? And I said to people, you should be able to just pick up something and instinctively know how to use it.
Yeah.
To a certain degree, it is the case, right? If somebody is stabbing your mate and you find a brick on the floor, you will grab that brick and you will try and smash the guy with that brick. That will be instinctive. Nobody needs to teach you that stuff, right?
No, that's it.
But would it help to know that you could enhance that weapon by putting it into a t-shirt and wrap that half a brick inside a t-shirt? Which, you know, would mean that it's easier for you to hold it, harder for you to let go of it, and you can use it with more power.
Yeah.
So that would help, but you got to be taught for that, right?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
The instinct to do it.
A lot of the time I teach my students that it's kind of like, out of all of the weapons that we cover, you can break it down into 4 main archetypes. So you've got edged weapons like blades, sort of staffs, batons, sticks, anything like that, like bow staff, etc., etc. You've got flexible weapons, like you said earlier, like Manriki Kasari or Kasari Fundo, like the chains with the weights either end. I do a lot of Jukyo, like rope dart, and we use Kyoketsu Shogi. It's like a ring with a hook knife and different bits and pieces.
Nice.
And then, like, literally we do the projectiles, so the knife throwing, using bows, using crossbows, and this is exactly the thing. It's kind of like, whenever you walk into somewhere, you should be able to assess and go, that's a weapon, that's a weapon, that's a weapon, that's a weapon. Exactly like you said, like literally, because anything can be utilized, like literally, and that's it. Like I know this is actually a pocket sharp, but if you've got a Sharpie, you know what I mean, like literally, or something like that, just carry it in your top pocket, like literally, and as soon as then when you need to use it, Tetsui Fudo can get it in there. A mate of mine, David, who's the police trainer, he taught me this brilliant sort of little tip for like the flashlight, and it's literally, whenever you're doing anything, just flash, bash, dash, literally get out there. It's simple, but it's effective, and people remember it. Do you know what I mean? Like literally.
100%. It's all, you know, it's all kind of using, understanding the application of each weapon, looking at an object and looking at the weapon attributes and what's the best way to grip it and what's the best way to use it, right?
That's it. We call it in traditional Japanese martial arts, we call it Kentai Ichijo. It's using the body and weapon as one. So if you've got that solid ground game and you know how to strike effectively, you know how to do your groundwork and different bits and pieces, then essentially the weapon's just an extension.
It's an extension. What you just said is exactly how I put it with the Trinity, right? The last angle of the Trinity is a marriage. It's a mixture of the two angles coming into one. That means that if you have a solid striking game, right, whether it's boxing or whether it can be a bit more like you know, like all the back fist, all the elbows, all the movement, you got that basic understanding of how to strike. And you got a good, not basic, you got a good understanding of how to strike, a solid striking game and a solid wrestling game. Now imagine when you put a weapon in your hand, how the dynamic of your wrestling changes, how the dynamic of your striking changes, right?
That's it. Like literally, one of the things that I commonly teach my students is, like, you know, the old jujitsu like armbar, like literally when they're laying on the floor and they're bringing it in between their legs. It's like, I'm just like, don't even do that. Avoid that, because as soon as you get into that position, if that person's got a knife, they're just going to like tag you over and over again. And it's kind of like, we call it sutemi. You don't want to put yourself in these sacrificial positions where you're going to get yourself fucked up. You know what I mean?
And so this is good. And you see, as a person, this is where I eliminate certain skill sets, because if the guy had a weapon, I wouldn't do it. So I end up not doing it at all, because I'm always ready for the person to have a weapon in my training, in my mindset, right? And this is why I like to take stuff from MMA and Some stuff I will keep because it's brilliant and it can be applied to the street and it can be applied to weaponry.
Yeah.
Some stuff I will throw it away. Any takedown any takedowns that includes me going to the ground with the guy, I don't want it.
Nah.
Because it's a concrete floor full of dog shit, broken glass, used condom, and everybody's gonna kick you in the head when you're there. So do you know what I mean? But
it's true. This is exactly the thing. I say exactly the same to my students all the time. We have sort of like 3 fundamental sawarigata techniques, like sort of ground techniques. But you always want to get back onto your feet. Like literally, even when they do rolls and stuff like that, they roll in a way where they automatically stand up straight away. They don't tie their legs up because you need to be able to move. Do you know what I mean? And it's exactly like you said. You've got to be able to control the situation. Again, kind of going back to what Russell was saying in his DVDs and stuff before. Stuff like face bars, like literally like gouging the eyes, or doing fish hooks, or like, do you know what I mean? Like you can't do that in MMA, but you're damn sure going to do that on the street. Like literally, because I've had it when I've been into fights. Like you get fish hooked and someone's pulling your mouth all the way back. Like Jesus Christ, like you ain't keeping going. Do you know what I mean? Like
100%. And you see, for example, think about the clinch game, right? So I don't want to spoil anything, but I'll just say it anyway. So those that watching now, they will know who's going to be the next person I'm going to interview. I told you that, right? So anyone that knows left way, right? The art of the 9 limbs, which is pretty much Muay Thai, but without gloves, it's bare knuckle, and they use headbutts as well, right?
It's insane. Like literally, I was looking it up yesterday.
Left way is the most permissible combat sport on the planet, and it's not for everyone. I mean, you need to be a bit crazy in your head to do that, but it's brilliant, and I take a lot of stuff from left way because it's a sport where you hit bare knuckles, so the punching is different. It's not like boxing. It's knuckle pointing in a certain way when they punch. It's everything is changed, right? Yeah. And so for those that do have an interest in left way and that are following it, they will obviously know Dave Leduc, who is the world champion of left way. They call him the king of left way. He's a French-Canadian guy, right? Tall and kind of tall, skinny. Well, not that skinny, but tall and skinny Canadian guy, right? French-Canadian guy. And his coach is called Sifu Patrick Marceau, right? And I'm going to be interviewing him probably in the next week or in the next couple of weeks. Probably in the next couple of weeks. I'm waiting to hear a reply from him, but he's accepted. So we're going to talk about the left way application and how it relates to the street and stuff. But what I was going to say about this is the clinch game, right? So if anyone that done a bit of Thai boxing when we're here and we try to go inside the clinch and have that control with the neck and try and grab both like this, and the guy tries not to let us do this, so we go under the underhook and go again, and the only thing you got to worry about in that is the knee.
Yeah, this is it.
The knee or the elbow. Yeah, you got to be careful about the elbows as well, because from the clinch, the elbow can be flying any different way. It can be flying in many different ways. But if you're controlling his shoulder and his arms, and you got your elbows in here, and you got maybe the gooseneck and the head here, he can't throw his elbows from there. So if your position is strong, he can't throw the elbows from there, right?
Yeah.
You got to worry about the knee. Right, but that's all you have to worry about. Which are, I mean, when I said that's all you have to worry about, the knees and the elbows are the most fucking deadly tools we have, I think. Yeah. Right?
We teach it as part. We call it the Hoken Joropo, like the 16 fighting fist. Yeah. The Shukiken, elbow strikes, and Sokiken, knee strikes are fundamental, because it's like you said. As soon as you get in there, like literally get a couple of punches in, slam the elbow in, like literally. Do you know what I mean? Get the knees in. There's the it's going off on a bit of a tangent, but there's this like Thai woman, like literally, it's all over TikTok at the moment. She's got like shotgun knees doing Muay Thai.
Oh, the knees, I've seen.
She's hitting so hard. It's like, my God, like
I've seen that, like that petite woman, and she's throwing the knees like in different fashions, and she makes the guy fly backwards.
That's it.
Mate, these are amazing. You know, as soon as you get in this range where it can bang, 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 it just flies from any directions, and it's like, mate. I love elbows and knees, right? These are one of my specialty when it comes to combat. Is this close quarter and extreme close quarter ranges, right? I'll speak about the 7 dimensions of combat in a bit, but going back to the clinch game, as soon as you allow headbutts in there, and bite, right? And maybe indexing the eye, right? Going and search for the eye with the thumb and stuff, and eye gouge and stuff. As soon as you allow this, the dynamic of the Thai clinch is fucked. It changes, right? Because now you're adding new elements to it that people are not used to, and that's why when I play clinch game with some high level Thai boxers, if we're playing by the rules, they're fucking stronger than me, right? Much stronger than me. But as soon as you allow the bite to go in and the eyes to be gouged, it changes, and that fucks with their plan. Now they're like, oh fuck, now they're in uncharted territory. Right?
Yeah, it's true. Like literally, it's kind of like I think you get this when you were like messing around as kids and stuff like that. But you learn pretty quickly when you're wrestling and stuff, and like you're messing with your mates. That you got to watch your balls, you got to watch your eyes, and you got to watch your neck. Do you know what I mean? Like literally, and this is. It's kind of like obviously you don't want anyone getting on your back, but I think it is that sparring. It's going through it, and as soon as you start throwing those variables like biting in or going for the eye gouges, we call them shizenken, like natural weapons, like scratching or doing whatever. But it's exactly like you were saying. It throws the whole game off entirely. Like I love boxing, but then it's like you said, if you get boxing versus someone who does Muay Thai, like there's a pretty good matchup there because with the kicks and stuff, like I've had it with Thai boxers in the past. Like you'll be sparring, they'll kick you in the leg, and you think, oh fuck, like, literally, this is it.
And that's the thing. That's what you want to you want to train with everybody and with all different practitioners of different disciplines to see what their strengths and weaknesses are and see what you can get from that, right? So going back to the clinch game is very important, and a lot of people neglect it. The clinch game is the transition from standing to groundwork, right? If you have a strong clinch game, you can throw people without ending on the ground, right? If your level is similar, you might get to throw him and fall with him. If you do that, your best chance of success is to fall on him.
Exactly, 110%.
So that you got your body weight, and if you can fall with an elbow, with a point of the knee on him, best thing, right? But you need to make sure you fall on him first of all, because you don't want to hurt yourself falling on the floor, and you definitely do not want to fall on the floor with him on the top of you, right?
Trust me, I had it in the past, like literally where I was grappling with someone, like literally like where we were out just on a night out and they started on me, like literally I've thrown them onto the floor, and like you said, I've gone on top of them, aiming my knee like literally straight for like their midsection, going for their stomach. I missed and hit the concrete, and I was like, fuck, literally this is exactly the thing. But it is that tactic, you got to get on top, and once it all kicks off, like literally that's the thing I think about a lot of traditional martial arts. It's kind of like it's good doing the skill sets and the technical application and stuff like that, but it does get to this point where it's like you have to have this mushin no shen, this mind of no mind. It's just action. I think I said about it earlier, but it's shuhari. You learn the mechanical aspects, you embody it, and then it's just reactionary. It's just second nature, and that's what I love about the sort of the traditional side of it. Like literally, you've got the art, but then when it comes down to it, combatives is brilliant because you're simplifying it and using we call it kuden, the concepts and the gokui, the secrets behind making it effective. Do you know what I mean? Like literally, and this is it.
Well, like I said to you, there's various stages of learning and stages that we used to teach the student, right? But when you think about it, yes, if you give me a total beginner, but somebody that's got physical attributes and mental attributes, somebody that has got the potential to become good, but that doesn't know anything yet, yes, we got to start with mindset development and attribute development and technical development. You got to teach people to stand properly, to stand there and be able to take a shot and to cover, right? And to learn to impact with enough power to knock somebody out or at least rock them seriously, right?
It's like you were saying with the karate guys. They're really good at that with their Makiwara training. They're a Temiwaza when they're striking, like they hit hard. We had Terry Burkett down a little while ago from Bad Boy
I like him. I met him a few times. Nice lads.
Yeah, Terry's cool. Like, literally, this is what I mean. But he hits hard. Like literally.
He's a solid guy, mate. Nice guy as well. I met him at the Festival of Martial Arts and the Kaizen. Yeah, nice lad.
This is it.
You see, like you can never downplay like strong Kyokushinkai people.
No, this is it.
Kyokushinkai is not my first martial art. My first martial art was judo, right? 4 years ago.
Same.
But Kyokushinkai was the art that made that was my base for my punches and my kicks and my conditioning. What at first, before I started Thai boxing, was Kyokushinkai karate, right?
Yeah.
And these guys are fucking solid. There's nothing
Yeah, they are.
solid people. But when you think about this, all this conditioning and everything is something that you need to have first, right? To build the combative training.
Yeah.
Once they know how to, once they know basic boxing combos. You see, for example, if you want to be an instructor under me, right? I don't have any instructors yet, but I'm thinking about it and I'm developing the program.
Yeah.
Anyone that wants to become an instructor needs to have a basic understanding of boxing.
Yeah,
right?
it's fair.
So being able to stand and get punched and slip and, tap punching and slip and rolling under and, leaning back and coming back in and throw jab, cross, hook, uppercut, you need to be able to throw an elbow at different angles. Do you know what I mean? You need to learn all that stuff.
Yeah.
Once you have all this, and a lot of people already have that, right? People that have been doing martial arts, different martial arts for a long time, know how to throw a punch, know how to throw an elbow and all this. Now, once you have all this technical black bag, if you want to call it like that, right? This toolbox that you have with you.
Yeah.
Then you learn concepts and principles. And that's what combatives is about. It's about concept and principles, where principle and concept over technique any day of the week. Because if we go into the traditional martial art, most traditional martial arts, I'm not saying all of them, because some instructors are pretty fucking smart and they've cracked out of the traditional, right? People like you, I'm sure, because that's from the sound of what you're saying, right? But think about, in traditional martial arts, you have thousands of techniques. And in order to pass a belt, in order to pass your black belt, you need to be able to fucking show like maybe 100, 200, 300 different techniques and variations of that technique. And it's like, fuck, that's basing a lot of space on the hard drive, right?
Yeah, you're not wrong. Like literally, like our traditional like ninjutsu syllabus is about 365 pages long. Like literally, so you do all of the study, you go through, there's probably about 300, 400 techniques. There's loads. And then you've got the bukiwaza, all the basic weapons training and stuff like that. But it's exactly like you were saying, it's too much. There was stuff that I took out when I broke away from the Bujinkan, like Ashidomi and Hisaku and certain techniques, which were just so far removed from reality. It's like, we might as well just chin them off because it's not worth having in the system. Like literally, and this is exactly the thing. It's kind of like, one of the things that I love about doing the seminars with instructors from all over the UK is I don't care whether they've got a karate background, whether they've got an Irish stick fighting background, whether it's FMA. We all basically speak the same language. It's the same concepts, the same techniques, the same thing, just done in slightly different ways. So I think politics is pointless because it's like, I get it in the ninjutsu organization. They'll be like, oh, well, you're a fourth dan. So that means that like literally you're not the same as somebody who's a 15th dan. But then at the same time, I know people that were promoted to fourth dan at the same time as me in ninjutsu who are 15th dans now, and they're wank. They are literally terrible. And this is exactly the thing. Like I said to you earlier, some people just couldn't physically fight their way out of a wet paper bag, despite the fact that they're black belts. You got stress test, you got scenario-based training. Like we do this thing a lot. Whereas I've used Tommy's like combat roulette, like literally, like I got that ages ago. So we got stuck in the dojo, but it's a really good tool, like literally. And this is the thing. We did one a little while ago with Ellie, one of my female instructors. I've literally got her like laid on the floor. I've sent everyone out the room. Like literally, I'm like, right, I'm attacking Ellie. So she's screaming, like literally going off. Everyone's coming, they're running in, like, what the hell's going on? And Mike, one of the bladesmith, Mike, like literally makes the knives and stuff like that. Like Mike's come in, speared me off at the top of Ellie, like literally. And then as soon as he's taken me off, like Ellie stood up, got a knife, starts tagging everyone. You know what I mean? Like literally, and this is the thing. You got to learn to like read the situation to engage with it. Don't just like act off of instinct, because often it makes the situation worse. Well, at least I think that in my opinion anyway.
What you just said, no, it's going back to what Bruce Lee used to say, right? I'm not saying it exactly how he said. I'm saying what he meant, right? Don't waste your time learning 10,000 techniques, right? Learn like 10 techniques, but fucking learn them, like do practice so many different angles and different ways of doing the same thing.
That's it.
That you become that you can't fail with it. right?
That's it. It's the old saying of don't do 10,000 kicks once, do one kick 10,000 times.
1,000 times. Right.
And you can see that with stuff like the simple front snap kick. We call it a Zembo Gary. But
Yeah.
if you look at like Russell's page and stuff like that, you can see him using it in reality where people have come at him with pipes and he's just like, poof, just taking them straight out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Push.
It's better to keep it simple.
we use that a lot. And that's why there's a lot of things that I think are good at first to build this basic black bag of attributes and learning how to punch and how to do this and for conditioning. But once you have developed this, you don't need that shit anymore. You can just discard it, right? So it's like a lot of stuff, you know, for me, I will not train something that I will not use in a fight. Unless I really need to develop more sensitivity, or I need my work on my Wing Chun trapping or my Ubad, or you know, this is, you know, I don't mind doing it a bit. But when you see people doing a lot, they 80% of what they do is just flow drills and trapping and stuff, and it's like, fuck, this is not how people fight, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So, for example, some of the Filipino martial arts knife flow drills where some blocks and deviation where I was like, fuck, I would never do that, because I know for a fact that if you give me a plastic bottle and you ask me to really fucking go for you, you're not going to block me with that block.
It's not
fucking do it.
I agree. It's like when you get the AccuStrike knives, the ones that beep, or the old lipstick tests. Like literally, we do that quite a lot. Be like, right, do you know what I mean? Stress test, try and stop
white t-shirt.
Yeah, that's it. Like literally, and a lot of the time it's going for those bilateral lines, securing that hand, like literally, and trying to like make sure that you're not getting stabbed. Like, because like you said, once someone's actually got that intention, it's just that's it. Like literally, like you ain't stopping that by doing. That's one of the things I hate about traditional Japanese tanto jutsu. Like it's all well and good doing these kamae and doing these stances, but it's so far removed from reality. Like literally, like this is exactly the thing. It's kind of like it serves a purpose to an extent, but if you were then to go and get into a knife fight as somebody who's just done tanto jutsu, you're probably going to get owned. And this is exactly the thing.
And that's the thing. That's why you want to keep your training and your skill set compact.
That's it. I agree.
You just want to have just use the analogy of the toolbox, right? When I came to see Tommy Carruthers in Scotland, in Glasgow, I actually went to live there.
Yeah.
Especially so I could train with them, right? So I could train with a man. When I arrived in Glasgow, that was in 2011. I already had 2011. Just put it that way. I already had about 20 years of martial arts under my belt, right?
Yeah.
Well, I already knew. You know, I'd like to believe that I already knew something, right?
Yeah. No, definitely.
When I arrived to Tommy, basically using the analogy of the toolbox, he's seen me arriving with a massive fucking toolbox with a lot of tools in there, and he grabbed that toolbox and just tipped it the other way and just emptied it and went, right, you don't need this shit. What the fuck is that? You will never have enough time to train that. And he thrown 90% of it, he thrown it away, and he made me stay with 10 tools. That was it. And that's all we fucking trained for like 2.5 years. These 10 tools, right? And to really become good at it, have fewer tools, right? But train them a lot and find new different drills to train the same thing, right? So let's say, just think about it, a simple jab and low kick in Thai boxing, or a simple groin kick and eye jab in JKD, right? You could have drills that are designed for judgment of distance. You could have drills that are designed for timing. You could have drills that are designed for speed. You could have drills that are designed for eye-hand coordination, right?
Yeah.
You could have drills that are designed for footwork. You have drills that are designed for evasive footwork. You have drills that are designed for attack, drills that are designed for counter-attack, defensive drills. But it's always the same shit. It's always a groin kick and an eye jab, right?
Yeah.
And that's how Tommy Carruthers used to teach. That's why Tommy is one of the best teachers I ever had with Lee Morrison and a few others. But thinking like that when you teach, instead of trying to teach, you go to a seminar and in the day you will learn 20 different techniques. And it's like, fuck, you go home, you don't remember one.
Yeah, that's it. Like literally, like we've had it in the past with some of the weapon stuff that we cover. We try and cut it down so you learn like 5 or 6 waza. Because if we're going through and we're doing like all the Shoden no kata, all the Gokuri gata, and then the Menkyo Kaiden stuff, that's like 40 odd kata. No one's remembering that. Do you know what I mean? And literally, one of the things I like about what Tommy covered with the Fairbairn Sykes fighting knife is literally hands, eyes, throat. Hands, eyes, throat. It's the most simple like application of using a knife, keeping that distance, like literally if necessary. And it's kind of like if I was going to teach, because I've got a ladies only group, so like literally if I'm teaching the women, it's FMA like solo baston, basic stick work, using improvised weapons and like stuff like their phone, torches, different bits and pieces. And like you said, simple and effective stuff that from combatives, like literally doing stuff like the face hugger and getting in, or like using their knees, using their elbows. Like literally, it's sort of like you've got to make it simple, because as soon as you start chucking too much stuff in there, like I think there's one thing having an academic pursuit, like literally, and like really going into it deep if you're like OCD enough to like I remember all the terminology and everything like that for everything, just about everything that we do with ninjutsu. But that's because of how I was trained in it. I started with somebody who was kind of like a ninjutsu MMA gym, and I didn't really feel like it had the kotsu, like the essence. So I went to train with Dave Giddings, and Dave changed my world. It was like, right, here's the densho, here's all the information, and it just really opened up the art. But that's what it is. It's an art. It's not reality-based self-defense. Do you get what I mean? That's got to be built up and developed through stress testing.
Well, you see, for example, I'm thinking about what Tommy Carruthers used to say, because Tommy is one of the guys that really influenced my training, my work when it comes to combatives and combat training. And Tommy's the guy that really programmed my brain for simplicity.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of the stuff that you see in martial art is too complicated. When you see people grab your wrist and you got to do this and this and this and this and this, when you could just fucking stomp his foot and poke him in the eye, or just palm strike him, or very simple stuff, just impactive strategy, right? I am an impact artist,
but no, it makes perfect sense.
So think about it. Tommy Carruthers used to say, daily decrease. And that's something he was saying all the fucking time. He was saying, Julien, daily decrease, right? Don't try and add stuff on the top of stuff. It become messy, right? What you need to do is like, you can compare it to meditation. Meditation is not about adding stuff within your mind, within your body. It's about cutting away. It's about stripping away from the unessential, right?
That's it.
So every time you meditate and you're in your position and you start having your breath work and focusing on the breath and try to let your mind just flow and not really run after your thoughts, right? This is what you're doing. You're cutting away the unessential to become who you truly are, the pure flow of consciousness that is thoughtless, right?
I agree. It's essentially grounding, and they have the same thing in ninjutsu. They call it senshin tekikyo. It's this aspect of like cutting away and getting to that sort of zen point. You've probably seen it.
That's what I love about Japanese and Chinese martial arts, is that there is the spiritual aspects behind it as well, right?
We have stuff like the Kujin, like literally where they do the hand signs and stuff like that. People always say it's ninja magic. It's not ninja magic. It's basically like you're bringing thought, word, and deed together, like literally. So you're focusing yourself on that intent. It's not like you're gonna hear like become Dr. Doolittle and hear like the squirrels talking or something like that. It's not magic. Do you know what I mean? It's just meditation, and the same thing can be seen in a lot of like yogic practices and stuff like that, and loads of different aspects. Like I come across life skills guys that are constantly going on about meditation or qigong, or do you know what I mean? Developing that center, and it's really important. I agree.
Yeah. So it's even if you translate that to the physical skill set. Daily decrease. Try to do more with less. Right. So try to select tools that will do more in think about economy. And when I speak about economy, I speak about economy of time, economy of space, economy of energy, economy of motion, right? It all acts hand in hand. If you have economy of space, you obviously have economy of energy. You obviously have economy of movement, right? And economy of time. So it's the same thing. Why would you select 3 tools to do one thing when you can do the same thing better with another tool? But that is the spirit of original Jeet Kune Do, right? The Ted Wong lineage is do more with less, daily decrease. Try to cut away, cut it to the very bone if you can, right? Well, that's the same thing with weapons, bro. You know, when it comes to weapons, there's a lot of drills that allow you to develop sensitivity and good control and stuff like that. And they are great. And they're trained a lot in traditional martial arts. When it comes to combatives, it's just stripped all the unessential, keep to the very, very essential. Think about the different angles. And look, if you're a really skilled martial artist, and you know, and you got a blade, and you're just going to work on different angles, and you know, even those angles and those and those, and you know, you're going to go out working all these angles, right? But the thing is, if you're not a skilled practitioner, these angles are going to be feeling a bit fucking weird for you. These angles of cut, especially these angles of cuts, right, are going to be a bit weird to you, right? I'm not saying that it's not a good idea to train them, because you need the skill set. But in terms of combatives, we're just going to focus on the angles that are more gross motor skills and that are going to be easy for everyone. And
that makes perfect sense, though, because it's like you said, it basically goes back to what I was saying earlier about the Quran bit. You have the application and being able to use it for self-defense, and then you have becoming really skilled. To put it in another sort of context, you could do kendo as sort of a sports form. Like literally, you're going to spar, you're going to put that into practice. But then you could do Yagyu Shinkagi Ryu, like Nito Ken and stuff like that. One of the Ko-Ryu schools. You're practicing an art that's not designed for realistic application. It's something for when people were wearing Yoroi and they had armor, and like it's not for like 2024. So it's like you said earlier, it's that evolution. You take the old stuff and you adapt it. Like a lot of the Yoroi work that we do is for bulletproof vests now, getting into the Butsumetsu where there's that opening underneath, like literally, and stuff like that. Like literally, because the same rules apply. It's just it needs modernizing, and that's what too many people become kata collectors. They become too obsessed with just thinking I have to become this version of what my instructor wants to be. But have your independence, be your own person. Like I say to my lot all the time, have fun, play, just enjoy it, like literally, because that's how you'll get better. Learning how you move, learning how you can like how you're not restricting yourself. And it's like you said, like some of these reverse angles, it's good if you've been doing FMA for years and years and years, but if I had a student that came in like 9th Q red belt, like literally I'm just gonna be like, look, basics, like you know what I mean?
That's it. And that's why, for example, we see in combatives is if I'm teaching the use of blade, right, in its offensive context, and I hear people, oh, you're teaching blade, don't do that, this and that. It's just context dictates content. We all know why, right? Let's say treat it as an art. Like, you don't go and trash talk the kendo practitioners in the UK. They're trying to use a blade. Yes, swords are illegal in the UK, but nobody goes and trash talk kendo practitioners or FMA or knife fighters or stuff like that. So, but combatives, because it's designed for real world application and modern application, people tend to look at it and go, oh, fucking hell, you're teaching people how to use a blade and stuff, and you shouldn't, and it's dangerous. And
but I get it all the time, and it's absolute rubbish. Like we've had it from one of the like local competitors, like one of the other dojos. They're like, oh, you shouldn't go to SEAL martial arts because they teach kids to use wooden swords and throw shuriken and do different bits and pieces, and they've got all these weapons. And even Nesta said to me, they're like, you need to change your overall appearance in the local community because you're doing all this test cutting and stuff like that. And it's just scaring the hell out of people. But realistically, when I was younger, like I wanted to learn this stuff. Like that was what I wanted to know, because that's what it was about, the art and about learning to have these different skills. And if I watched, say, Bruce Lee using nunchucks, it's like, right, I'm studying nunchucks. That's exactly it. You know what I mean? Or like, I'm going to get these skill sets down. And then it's like you said, you can have those gross motor skills where you're just getting in there, smashing them and doing whatever you're doing. Joe's quite good for that because it's like an extension of like the staff and the sword. So you can mix it together. Irish stick fighting is cracking as well. Like literally, we do hambo jutsu, like walking stick fighting, but the Irish stuff is really good. Like if you haven't spoken to James Stewart, he might be worth dropping him a message because he's good, like literally.
Yeah, James Stewart rings a bell, right? He's on Facebook. I think I must have had it on my friend list before my Facebook got hacked, because you know what, my Facebook got hacked about 3.5 months ago, and I lost 15,000 followers, mate. I was fucking devastated, mate.
This is it, like literally. Like I remember when that all happened, like literally, like people take the piss, like hacking into your account and stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's terrible. Like literally.
I think somebody deliberately done it out of hate or jealousy, mate. That's what I think, because nothing's being used, nothing was being sold or nothing. It was just really the way that it's been done was specially to get my account deactivated beyond recovery. That's what it was. So anyway, I mean, it is what it is. Now, I make the thing that now, when I'm teaching seminars, I've not been teaching many seminars this year, but I'm teaching one on the 18th of August, where we're going to have a look at a problem that is now a reality and everybody knows about it, right? Which is knife problems, and how to train in a way that will offer you the best potential for survival, right?
Yeah, 110%.
And so, as before, I would use Facebook to kind of advertise it. Now I'm asking all my friends to really kind of, word to mouth, talk to people, see if anyone is interested, and we'll see.
That's it. You need the right demographics at the end of the day, because it's kind of like there are people that definitely should be training with you and getting that in, like literally 110%.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, I don't think it's necessarily the general public. Like, I get the same thing with all the knife stuff that we do. Like, knives are really, really important. Like, literally, like, it's the most common weapon you're going to come across any time of the day, especially in the UK. But it's kind of like you were saying earlier, you need to know how to use them and how to apply that. Like, literally, so stuff like the basic first aid. I had Tom doing a surviving a knife attack seminar, like literally, for exactly that reason. Because it's like, if you get tagged, you've only got so long till you pass out, like literally, like, and then you're actually dead. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to sort yourself out, get yourself sorted, like
100%. And by the way, you mentioned Tommy Jomo. I love the guy. He's a great guy. He's very knowledgeable. I like the stuff that he does. He's got some very creative drills as well. Just a few stuff that I pinched of him. And overall funny guy as well. Nice guy to be around, mate. If you see him, say hi from me.
Tommy, and like one of the things that we did after, because I lost my daughter in 2022.
Oh shit! Sorry to hear that.
No, it's just one of those things. But that's why we do martial arts for Mila every year. But Tommy and Tom Edison Penner and Terry Ailey and like loads of them, Richard Hughes, Robert Phelps, like loads of these guys in the martial arts community who didn't know me, like literally stepped in, helped run seminars to raise money for the Lily May Foundation. We raised about £4,000 to date. Do you know what I mean? And it's literally just off the basis that there's some good guys. So I've got a lot of respect for Tommy, because like literally he's gone above and beyond and out of his way, like literally to help me in a lot of ways. So, and it's like you said, he's funny, like saying he's going to kill a man with a pasty and stuff like that. Like, literally, like
Tommy's a great guy. You can truly sense that he's a loving individual, right? And he loves his craft, mate.
He
loves his craft, and he is a funny guy, mate. Do you know, when he teaches, he literally is a really funny guy, mate. I should do a bit more with him. We'll do. I got a car now, so I'll be traveling a bit more. But what I was going to say, coming back to the blade.
Sorry, mate.
When it comes to women, no, I know it's just I know I got things to say, but it's fine. Do you know, when it comes to blades, I got the argument that I think if I had to teach a woman, and I have actually through the years had several women come to me to learn self-protection, right? I would insist in teaching a woman some form of weaponry, and that would be the knife.
110%.
So, you'd make an argument, say, oh, why would you teach the knife? Well, do you know what? Why would I not teach a grown woman, mature woman that's not going to get in trouble, that's got kids, that don't want to throw her life away? Why would I not teach a woman to be proficient with a blade in the offensive sense? Why not?
That's exactly it. Even if you look at it historically, like literally, they used to have the leaf daggers, like literally. So you'd have like prostitutes and stuff like that would be working. If the Johns didn't actually pay them, they'd slit their scrotum with the fucking knife, like literally. And this is exactly the thing, like it's the most efficient weapon. Do you know what I mean? Like literally, like women should definitely know how to use knives.
It never runs out of ammo. And think, when it comes to a woman, I'm not being sexist or anything. I love everyone, but would I teach a woman the same way that I would teach a man? No, because I wouldn't teach a woman to throw. I mean, I do teach women to throw palm strike, but think about it. How many chance statistically is there for a woman that is smaller to knock out a man that is physically bigger and stronger and faster than her?
It's not going to happen. I'm not even going to go down that angle, but it's like when you look at the stuff with sports, like literally, and the gender debate and stuff like that, like it there's just a biological difference, like literally, and when it comes down to it, we have it in ninjutsu. We have like the ninjas, and then you have the kunoichi, like literally, which are the female agents. They were more focused on like sort of subterfuge and infiltration and
Yeah,
seduction and different bits and
yeah,
pieces. They
yeah.
weren't fighting people toe to toe. Like literally, they
Of
get you in
course.
bed and then kill you with kogai. Like literally, and this is exactly the thing.
But that's it. So that's why I think, when it comes to teaching women to fight, I'll say teach them how to use a blade and teach
Yeah,
them how to use a blade efficiently. And I have shown that to the world before, where I taught my ex partner Abigail Waters, and I put a video on there that was like, wow, and she's not even a fighter.
yeah,
She's
yeah,
not even a fighter. She's just trained with me for a year, and she became really fucking lethal. Do you know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
So blade, I think, very, very important, very important thing. And so a lot of people are like, oh fuck, but it is what it is. You gotta love that stuff as well. There
Yeah,
is
yeah.
sort of, when you grab a sword and you start moving with it and you start flowing with it, it's like prayer. You feel
Yeah.
free. You feel you find that state of mind, where there's no thoughts. You just find this nice feeling inside that you're
That's it.
doing.
Like literally. That's what I was saying about earlier. It's that Mushin no Shen. Like I personally have a real interest in the Honto, like literally like Japanese swords. So I do all of the Tsukamaki in
Is that
different
what?
styles. I know this is a katana, like literally.
Oh,
But so this is Hinari Maki, for example, like the diamond sword, and then you have like a Katate Maki, where it's like the half wrap, or you'll get Kyu Kumiyagi Tsukamaki, where you do like a checkboard and stuff like that. But I have a real passion about swords, so I know two styles of Kenjutsu: Kukushin Ryu Hikenjutsu and Tokugyo B Kenjutsu. If you translate it, it's like the nine demon god school of the sword, and then the hidden door school of the sword. But it's like you said, you have to have that passion for it. Like literally, like I love all the weaponry and stuff like that. I'm never going to use it on anyone. You can, I don't know if you can see the hammer. It's getting a bit dark in here. I might have to turn the light on.
I did it here, yeah.
Yeah, but this is the thing. It's literally the kind of like you said. You've got to have that passion, and it's the same with when it comes to teaching.
Yeah,
Like if you're in there and you've got one student turning up, you've got to treat that the same as if you've got 100 students in
yeah,
there. Whatever you're doing, you give it 110%. Like in Japanese, we call it bushigokuro or moti tatoshi no nasu. It's like the warrior's heart is precious and essential. You have to have that heart. If you don't have that heart, you ain't gonna get anywhere. Do you know what I mean?
It's true. It's true. It's got to be a passion in some way. And if you don't have a passion for the actual martial arts and the arts, and some people say that martial and art is different, and it is in some way. But I want to remind everyone that in the word martial, there is the word art. Right?
Yeah, yeah, it's valid.
Martial, right? The
This
word
is
art
it.
is inside martial. So even if you really focus on the martial, which is what I do with combatives, right? I focus more on the martial than the art. There is still art in brutality. There is still
Yeah.
art in this brutal application of violence. If you learn to see it, you can see it. There is still art and there is still beauty in brutality.
Oh yeah, no, there is. Like literally, that's one of the things I like about weaponry. It's like I was saying earlier, it's the life-giving sword aspect. If
Mm,
you get so efficient with a weapon that you can basically deconstruct someone's anatomy, there's an art to that. Like literally,
of
it
course.
sounds bad saying it, but then
Yeah.
having these skill sets, it's empowering. You go from this situation of thinking like, when I was younger, for example, I had quite an abusive childhood. Like literally, and my dad was in prison and was an alcoholic for years, and it's a long story. But the be all and end all of it was martial arts for me empowered me. It gave me the
Yeah.
ability to go, my family suck, but I've got a family. I've got a community of people that literally are guiding me in the right way. And I swear it's because of my martial arts instructors like Dave and people like Anthony Pillage and the plethora of other people that I've trained with over the years that I've become successful because they taught me this mindset of being goal driven, focused, and objective. Whatever I was doing, I'd set a goal and be like, right, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get that done. I'm going to get that done. And that's aside from the physical benefit of martial arts, I really think it's empowering. It gives you power. Do you know what I mean? Like literally. So
I think it's the same thing for me, mate. Like martial arts is really what gave me that education,
yeah,
right? Like I also had a pretty difficult childhood. I got a bit of a broken family. It's one of those things, right?
yeah,
But when I felt like I was being rejected by everyone, martial arts was like this thing
That's it.
That was for me. And not only that, martial arts is the thing that I had a need for it, right?
Yeah.
I was getting bullied. I mean, I'm ADHD as fuck. I'm on the mild spectrum of autism as well. And then when I was a kid, I was drawing a lot. And
Yeah.
I didn't want to learn. I was just that I wasn't interested in school, except certain subjects. When I was interested, I was actually first in my class, right?
Yeah.
I've actually got some tests done. Actually, I got an IQ of 167, right? So I'm far from being stupid.
Oh no,
But
no, I don't. I wouldn't ever insinuate that. Like
no,
literally,
no, no, I'm
trust
not
me.
saying you are.
I don't think schools are places for smart people.
No.
Like literally, if you want to really progress and you want to learn and not be turned into an automaton, do homeschooling. Don't go to
That's
school.
it.
Like literally, like
Look, schools, to me, school systems are indoctrination camps, teaching our children to become obedient little slaves, man.
exactly.
And
It's like I said about revenue streams earlier. It's all about keeping you in employment and self-employment. They want you as
absolutely.
slaves. That's
You,
literally
you,
it.
you and I are on a very, very similar wavelengths when it comes to the government and the system and stuff like that, right? But what we're saying about martial arts is that this was a necessity for me. It
Yeah,
was a
yeah,
necessity because I needed to learn to look after myself and things. And at some point also when I started to become good at it, this is because of martial arts that I won people's respect. Do you
yeah.
know what I mean? Like, this is because of what I teach and what I do that I'm even talking to you or talking to people. Do you know what I mean? This was our first point of anchor of saying, oh, right, yeah, I like that guy. I like the
Yeah,
stuff he does, and he's saying some cool stuff, and let's have a chat. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So martial arts did a lot for me, not only in the martial aspect, but also on a spiritual aspect as
Yeah.
well, of learning to control my anger. And I had a lot of rage growing up as a kid, right?
110%. Like literally, like me, me and Buzz are really close. Like literally, like
Yeah,
Buzz is
Buzz
like
is a
my
good guy
brother.
as well.
And that's what I mean. We've known each other since back in the day with the pubs. He used to work for my like family security company. Like literally, Buzz saw a lot of the abuse that we were going through, and he'd like come down and he'd take us to like McDonald's, me and my sisters and stuff like that, and get us burgers and like sort us out. Buzz is such a good guy, like literally.
Mm.
And this is exactly the thing. He didn't have to do any of that, but it's like you said. There's these influential people, and it changes your life. Like when I was down south, I was involved in like organized crime. My family were drug dealing. Like literally, I was getting guns put to the back of my head. My younger brother nearly got strung up at one point, like literally in a barn. And it's kind of like you look at all this shit and you're like, what am I doing? Like literally. And then I left and I changed my life. And martial arts, like it gave me redemption. It gave me ability to be somebody else. Do you know what I mean? Like literally,
Yeah.
and change what I was doing. And if I go down south to Portsmouth now, people still look at me like I'm the devil. Like my wife goes on there, she'll talk to someone on TikTok, and she'll be like, "Oh, have you ever heard of my husband, Jamie Seal?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, he's a fucking thug." And it's like I don't like that reputation because you evolve, you change into a different person. And it's like you said, I think when it comes to the martial arts, it's so impactful. It changes like it gives you character, like literally, and that's exactly the
Exactly.
thing.
And the more dangerous you become, potentially, the more knowledge, combative knowledge, and I call it combative maturity,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The more mature you become in a combative sense, the more you realize how much damage you could cause, the more you become a good person,
yeah,
right? Because the more it humbles you, the less you become scared of everything. I used to go out before and I was obsessed. I was obsessed with it. I'm not as obsessed with it now as I used to, right? Because I learned what I needed to learn, and I filled certain holes that I needed to fill so I could drive over it. Do you know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah.
So, but before I would go to places, I would go to the shop, to McDonald's, to this and that, and I'd be looking at people in the queue, and I'd be imagining in my head, if there was a big guy in front of me, I'd be imagining how I would grab his head, put the back of his knee, take him down, stomp his head, fucking side kick the guy behind from the knee, break the kneecap, side kick the guy to the right, and look to the left, and I would be making this movie totally and completely and all the time in my head. I'd be fighting people. Do you know what
I
I mean?
don't think that's necessarily a weird thing, though. I think if you work in the security industry or stuff like that, you're observing all the time. I've had it
Mm.
in myself, like literally, and you're thinking, if this situation kicked off, I'd
Yeah,
do this, this, and this to control it. Like literally, I think it's
that
just.
is healthy. I do agree with you, but
I'm
it
just
was,
gonna flick the light on, Julian. Sorry.
yeah, no problem. What it was the emotional content accompanying that thought that was wrong, right?
Yeah.
Because I was seeing everyone as a threat, and every time I would see a big guy, I'd be like, "Can I fucking take him? Do you know what I mean? Can I take him?
Yeah.
Would I be able to do it?" And I would make these movies in my head, and of course, rehearsing things in your mind and using visualization for your combative application and your combative evolution. Of course, it's a good idea. It's great, and most of my skill set has been developed by visualizing stuff, right? So if you're a good martial artist, obviously you must be good at visualizing stuff. But
Yeah.
be careful. And I had that conversation with people before, and I said, be careful. Okay, if I do that now, if I train in my head, and I will find a space in my mental chambers. I like to call it my mental spaces, my mental room, my mental chambers, right?
Yeah.
And I can create any chamber I want because this is my hard drive, this is my computer, right? This is my visualization board. I can go, right, let us create, like in the Matrix when Morpheus takes Neo into that training program
Yeah.
inside the dojo, and they train and nobody can get hurt because it's a training area.
Yeah.
What if you could do the same thing in your head and go, right, I'm creating this room, it's solely only purposely for my training, and I can be as ferocious, I can even visualize blood fucking exploding, body exploding. I can visualize anything in that room, but the parameters of that room are set at the beginning. It's a training room, and I do not wish to manifest all this aggression in my life. This is not who I am, right?
That's exactly it. It's having that control, like, literally. Because the
Yes.
thing is, I've had it in the past. Like, there's been points in my life when I've done people damage. I've really fucking hurt people, like, literally. And I'll tell you what my overall feeling is about it. I'm not happy. Like, literally, I don't feel like a good person. It
Yeah.
made me feel like a shitty individual. And this is, I talk to my students about it. Like, I was saying to Tom about it a little while ago. Like, literally, it's kind of like, it's all well and good when we're doing sword training or we're doing machete training or we're using a knife. But if you use it in reality, that's going to fuck you up. Like, literally, because you're close quarters carving somebody up. Like, literally, and there's only a few situations, like if someone's got an AK and they're trying to kill your family or something like that, where you're physically going to be able to get your head around it.
Yeah.
Like, I had it with the RAF regiment. Like, literally, it's kind of like I was going through all the training to become an RAF regiment gunner, and it got to the point where I got injured, and then I thought, I'm basically going to end up killing someone for the government, and then I've got to live with that. And like, it's all well and good being like, I think there's a certain humanist aspect. And it's like you said, there's a difference between the fantasy of violence and the reality of it. And you need that section in your head, like literally, to be able to run it through and go, right, well, this is how it would play out, like literally, but I'm not necessarily going to like just shoot everybody in the room. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
literally.
you see what you just said, right? And that's part of a subject that I touch on when I teach combatives, right? And we really get into the mental and emotional preparation for combat,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that means your ability to learn to dehumanize somebody completely and turn them into a meat puppet, right?
Yeah.
And if you're gonna train, if I don't know, just a simple thing where you're gonna take the pen and open the tick and you're gonna go in somebody's throat, right?
Yeah.
You gotta visualize that the blood is gonna be squirting out like fuck, right? And if you don't visualize this in your training room, if you ever have to do it, God, that it's never going to happen to you. I don't wish that to happen to anyone, not to me, not to anyone. But if it was to happen, you would get shocked because you didn't visualize it the way that it was. You weren't as realistic as possible in the
No.
way that you visualize stuff. And that's why if I visualize me using a blade, I do visualize the blood as well.
Yeah, it's like the military training, bayonet training. Like literally,
Yeah.
they have like the bags on the posts, and you charge in, aggressively stab it, and the first
And the
thing you do is
sun
that's
comes.
it. It squirts out, and like literally, the amount of people that you see, they just lose it. Like literally, that's it. They
Yeah.
can't deal with it from that point. But that's the reality of it. It's like you said, you have to have that mentality and train for it. Like I had it a lot. I think the military a lot of the time sort of indoctrinates you, like literally, to
Yeah.
make somebody the enemy. They're the, like you
Yeah.
said, they dehumanize them, like literally.
Yeah.
And that's that's valid if they're actually causing an issue. But for somebody like me who's a civilian, it's different because you're working with military personnel and stuff like that. But for someone who's like me who's a civilian, I'm not really going to need to stab anybody, like literally, unless
No, you won't.
there's like a civil war or an incursion from like North Korea or something. Do you know what I mean? Like literally. So I love the art, like literally, but it's like you said, you have to be realistic about the environment that you're operating in, like literally.
There is a line between the art and the modern application
Yeah,
in the martial application, right? Like, if you have to use a blade, right, and you really focus on the aggression as well, right, being able to switch that aggression on, when you use a blade, for example, and you will visualize everything, and you will give yourself as many details as possible in your mind, and that, for me, it's a way to prepare yourself on a mental and emotional level to do
yeah,
what needs to be done in the
yeah.
event of the worst case scenario, because if you don't prepare yourself, it's just not going to come out. And if it comes out, you will just freeze. You will get shocked
Yeah.
at what you just did, and you will stop. And that pose my mean your death,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
no, it's a very valid point. Like literally, and it's like I said, I think the situation's variable. Like if it was a oil sheik in sort of Saudi Arabia or something like that, like literally, and you're doing close protection, I think that's your job. That's what you've got to do. You can justify that to yourself. That makes sense. Like literally, or if it's like a little kid and you're protecting them, that makes perfect sense. But then if it's just like government sanctioned and you're doing it because of your job, like literally, that could also be a bit complicated. This kind of comes down to the old thing of reading the situation. If you're related to someone and they're pissed and they're trying to start a fight with you, you're not going to murder
Mm.
them, are you? Like literally, it's got to be like applied in the right
So
scenario. So I totally get what you're saying. Like literally, it's having that mentality in that application. But I think you've got to have that switch for the right situation. Like the only reason that I'm saying
yeah,
about this is because I think too many kids get tied up in like postcode wars and stuff like that, and they don't understand the severity of stabbing somebody with a knife. Like you can see on my finger, I nearly had my finger cut off with a fucking knife at one
mm,
point. I've
mm,
been stabbed in my legs and all sorts, like literally. And when it comes down to it, trust me, you don't want to get stabbed.
of
Like it's that sharp sensation followed by heat, and then you're like, "Fuck, I can't move." Like literally, and
mm,
they don't understand the reality. So it's exactly like you said. Like you have to have that mindset. Like when I had the stuff with the RAF, if I had to do that as my job, like literally, then I would have shot people. I would have done it. Like literally, 110%. But 10 years down the line, now we're probably longer than that. Like 15 years down the line, could I justify it to myself? Like literally, like, I've got PTSD from seeing people get bleached and seeing people get stabbed and stuff like that when I was down south. Do you know what I mean? So it's
mm.
like, let alone me stabbing somebody or something. I just don't. I think there's no shame in admitting that you're not necessarily a killer. It's like when the guys go over to Ukraine and stuff like that.
Of
Like, I
course,
think that's fine. Go over to Ukraine if you're military personnel and you're trained and you know what you're doing. Aside from that, you're a hindrance. Don't do it. Like, literally.
it's true. But think about it in terms of situation that hesitation can kill,
Oh, yeah.
right?
You
Uh,
get it with the Americans with guns. They carry guns. Then they'll like literally be like, "This is for self-defense." Someone comes up to attack them, and they don't use the gun because they don't want to shoot them. Like
yeah,
literally, and then they get
that's
killed.
it.
It's like you
So
said.
think about it. I was talking to a very good friend of mine, Andrew Devent, who's an ex-pro MMA fighter, one of the top fighters in the world. He's almost made it to the UFC a couple of times in his
Yeah.
career. I do close protection with him. A very, very dear friend of mine, and he, you've seen what's happening in the UK right now, right? There is
Yeah. Yeah.
riots everywhere, and you got this bunch of far right racist people going and beat up people of colors in the cities of UK, right? And my mate Andrew sent me, I think he sent me a video, or was it him or somebody else, or told me about some Asian guy was driving a car with his family and got pulled. They smashed the windows, pulled him out of his car to beat him up, right? At that point, if you have your family in the car with you, right? My friend Andrew's got three girls, right? He
Yeah.
loves them to be. He's one of the best dad I know, right? Great guy. And he said to me, fucking hell, if I drive and there is like 200 people around us and they try to smash the windows and pull me out of my car. So what do I do? Do I hesitate or do I just fucking drive and
Yeah.
just run them over, mate? Because at the end of the day, I don't know, in the eyes of the law, right? You got your family in your car. You're driving there. Okay, you had no idea. You didn't know, because if you knew, you wouldn't be there. You wouldn't
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
your family at risk, right? All of a sudden, you got 300 angry people around you, pointing the finger and trying to smash your window in. are you justified then, and would you hesitate for the sake of your family to just drive through the fucking crowd and not stop?
Not at all, because it's the rule. I'd look at that as it's rules of engagement. They're presenting a threat to you and your sort of people around you. Like literally, so you've got to do whatever you've got to do. It's like you
Imagine
said.
that would get in the court. Imagine that would get in a court of law, right? I mean, 200 people around the car. If you start driving off, you're going to hit 10, 20 people, right?
Yeah.
And some of them might not, the people that were a bit further might not have got directly involved with you. But if you stop, you're getting smashed in and you're not there to protect your family, and you don't know what's happening to your family. So is it justified in your sense? And this is where the law is fucking shit. This is where the law is stupid, right? Because the judges and they will try to prosecute you for that.
Oh yeah, 110%. You're not wrong at all. As far as the way that the law works in this country, like literally, it's definitely not geared towards justice in any which way, shape, or form.
Not in any way, shape, or form.
It's exactly like you were saying. We should have some element of like being able to carry. Like I said it when there was these stabbings, like literally that happened up in Southport. It's like we should have people that are certified to carry telescopic batons or some sort of weapon.
100%,
or like
we should.
You know what I mean? People that are trained to actually intervene in these situations. And it's exactly like you said. It's kind of like if I was in that situation, I've got a load of protesters, like literally, and they're trying to get Kim and like Lena out of my car, like they're getting run over. Like literally, I'll deal with the consequences later. Like literally, do you know what I mean?
The thing is that they took our God-given right to arm ourselves in order to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
They just want us to give our safety to others. They want to put our safety into the hands of authorities that, first of all, might not give a shit about us. They're not obliged to intervene if they feel that there is a safety problem for them and it's dangerous. They're not obliged to help you.
No.
That's the argument I make. I said, look, your safety is yours, and when you're walking with your family, you're the protector. You're responsible for their safety. So if this is where all this mental and emotional preparation comes in, right? If you hesitate, that guy probably hesitated, that Asian guy. And that's why his windows got smashed, he's got pulled out of his car, and he's got beat up to death while his family was watching. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. Like I shared a video on Facebook recently, like literally where this guy got attacked in London, and they're just driving along. There's an Uber driver there, like literally they get out, like literally there are 3 guys run over.
Oh yeah, I've seen this. And the guy comes back and they're stabbing him.
Yeah, they're stabbing him in the back of the car, and the Uber driver literally just
he's not driving. He's like,
and it's like, what are you doing? Get out of there! Like literally,
he calls him like uncle, fucking drive, because he was shocked, right? My car is my life, my car. It's like fucking hell, like 2-3 people got stabbed, probably dead now.
Yeah, it's like you said, the hesitation, like literally could have ended up with that guy getting killed. I swear I saw him get tagged like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, you looked pretty. His arm was bleeding and everything, man.
This is it.
Yeah,
like literally. So I totally agree in that respect. It's kind of like a lot of what we do. It's like I think there's that division. It's basically like you've got operators who do it as a job and they're doing whatever they're doing. And there's civilians, like literally they don't necessarily need to apply it in the same way unless it was like a prepping situation or something like that. Like a prime example is I sell loads of crossbows and like knives and machetes and stuff like that to martial arts instructors and preppers all over the UK. Like literally, because if something kicks off, they want to know that they've got something to protect their family.
100%.
It's like you said, like there shouldn't be this disarmament of the public, like literally, because people need to protect themselves. Like the government don't give a shit. You look at some of the stuff they're making at the moment, like the Boston Dynamics dogs that have like machine guns attached to the back, and then they've got an attachment that goes on that, and it looks like a Disney character. If they sent that into like Iran or something like that, like literally all the kids run over, and then this robot shoots them all, or like the drones that come up and blow your head up with C4 and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like the government is evil with some of the shit they produce, like, literally, and then they won't let us have a knife. Do you know what I mean?
Of course. The thing, mate, is that there's going to be some point where things are going to kick off properly, and I can see this getting closer and closer and closer, mate. And what have we got in this country to fight back?
Yeah.
The only thing we have is steel, right? The only thing we will have is steel. Like axes, machetes, knives, fucking, and this is where you need to think, mate. I'm thinking this is why I'm training weaponry and to train to be able to use anything.
Yeah. I think that's basically what I'm saying. It's kind of like you've got to have that point where it's like, right, it's become too extreme now. Something's got to be done. Do you know what I mean? Because I've got tons of weaponry which is locked, like biometrically locked away, and it's all secure. It's like you said, like technically, like the katanas and stuff are illegal for civilians to own now. If you have them in your house, like literally, they'll get seized. But then I've got an exemption because it's relevant to what I do, and I have live blade insurance. But why? Why? It's kind of like the right people should be able to like license, or there should be some sort of legislation so you can have this stuff. They literally because having this sort of blanket ban, like literally, doesn't solve anything for anyone. Like literally, I have this conversation with James all the time about how like they're trying to ban knives and do different bits and pieces. But I've got a 3D printer. I could make a shank. Mike could get a bit of steel and like make knives all day long, push daggers and God knows whatever else. It's not going to stop anyone.
They're taking our weapons away to subdue us. I'm telling you, mate, this is just how it is. Like, right? They don't want people rising up against governments. Like that's what they don't want.
Yeah, but we should have the right because they serve us. We don't serve them. That's the thing. That's the whole thing with democracy. They're supposed to listen to the people.
Of
They
course,
literally, but they just don't. They literally.
they're not. The world is run by mass murdering, child molesting, poisoning, slaving pedophiles, mate. Like, and I don't care how I sound. It's out there right in your face. If people don't want to see that, then they're part of the problem. You know what I mean?
Julian, you know I agree in like many respects. Like literally, like there's people that I've come across in the martial arts industry and stuff like that. Like literally, and you think, oh yeah, they seem sound. Like and then it turns out that they're just like nonces or weirdos. So it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that you get the same shit with the government. And like literally, like one of them was Zara Piffian. Like literally, she was a female instructor. Everything was fine. She's doing like 8 years in prison now for like sleeping with a 13-year-old with her husband and stuff like that. Like there's some fucking weird people out there. Like literally, and it's like you said, you can't take everything on face value. Like I've been told, I think it was Matt State, like literally said to me before, he was like, you're really nice to everyone, but you need to stop being so naive. And I'm like, yeah, but I take everyone at face value unless they've done something wrong to me in the first place. He's like,
yeah,
nah, you can't do that.
The same, yeah. It's one of those things, mate. Do you know what I mean? You can be a nice person, and and people are not who it takes a long time to get to know people, mate.
Yeah.
It does literally take a long time to get to know people. And I've heard also stories of like martial arts instructors, very respected ones as well. Like that's been very respected for a long time. There was one in Manchester. I'm not going to give any name, but there was a Muay Thai coach in Manchester that was very respected, and that's also been found to be a nonce. Do you know what I mean? So it's one of those things, mate. The world is a very beautiful place, but it can also be a sick place, and that's why you need to be ready. You need to be ready, man.
110%. I literally like I've come across it a couple of times, and I think there's also almost a narcissistic aspect sometimes to like martial arts instructors, and they'll use it to get into a situation where they can like groom their students in different bits and pieces. And people like that shouldn't be in a position of authority. Like literally, like I'm not trying to go into personal details, but I've never slept with one of my students. You don't cross that line. You don't have like that sort of relationship with them. It's different if it's like Kim and I'm teaching her how to use weapons. She's my wife. Do you know what I mean? Like literally, but like I think it causes a problem. There's an imbalance there. And I know like 60-year-old guys that have been trying to like groom like 25-year-old women and stuff like that, and like saying, oh, well, you could be part of my business, you can do this. Like literally, if you sleep with me, and it's like you're a fucking weirdo. Like you shouldn't be teaching. Do you know what I mean? And some of these people are like ex-police officers and shit, and it's like, what the fuck? Like,
do you know what you just said? Now, this is an example of stuff that happens a lot in the Hollywood industry, in the movie industry, in the music industry. A lot of the celebrities and people that right now have had to go through that in order to get to where they are.
Yeah, that's it. 110%. Like literally, they get stuck in this situation where it's essentially like a circle jerk. They've got to literally serve off like the next person. Was it that Harvey Weinstein? Like literally, that had it all. Like literally, and he's like sleeping with everyone left, right, and center. They just abuse these positions of authority. Like literally, like don't get me wrong, do whatever you're gonna do, but don't fucking take advantage of people. It ain't about that. Like for someone who's got a daughter, like 110%, that shit scares me. Like literally, like no one's gonna be taking advantage of her or doing that shit. Do you know what I mean? Like
100%, mate.
I'll be sat here when she's got a boyfriend with my katana, like polishing it. You're right, I'm Jamie, I'm her dad. Like literally, do you know what I mean?
So print a t-shirt for her with a katana. Like this is my dad. Yeah, mate. You can show him your knife collection at some point. Like, yeah, man. I'll tell you what, Jamie. What I propose we do is we wrap it up slowly for today. And then obviously, I know we want to have a little chat now, so we can have a little chat. We wrap it up for now, and then we can do that again at some point soon, because obviously there's a lot more stuff we can speak about.
I'm more than happy to do it, Julian. We could talk all day, like literally. I think
100%.
the only thing that I'd say as a final point, like literally, because I've got all these weapons out, like literally to demonstrate. Where is it? Right, like literally, it's. I think like in modern application, realistically, it's kind of like it's like you said. You want a knife. Or you want something, if I can get this bloody thing out, like literally, like an axe, like literally, because if you...
I've seen that. That is brilliant.
Where that's what I mean. This is a Honshu one, like literally. Like, I'll message you about it afterwards, Julian.
Yeah,
like,
literally. Do, mate. I get something like that if you got them.
That's what I mean. Axes or Karma are brilliant weapons in application. You've got this hook, so you can disarm the opponent. Like literally, you can take it off them. You've got enough weight behind the head. Like with something like this is razor sharp. You've seen someone cutting bottles with one of these, like literally, and it cuts just as well as a sword, like literally. So it's like I reckon you need something like that for sort of self-defense. If you're going to get a basic sort of weapon, you're only going to pick one. I'd say either an axe or a knife. And like when it comes to knives, don't go for like something like this, like literally. I know it looks beautiful, looks like a beast, like literally, but realistically, that's a bastard to implement, like literally, use effectively in combat. It's a bit better, in my personal opinion, to use something like a tour knife, something that's a bit smaller, a bit more concealable, like literally, and you can actually apply it. Do you know what I mean?
I like small knives.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've got loads of really, really big knives. Like literally, don't get me wrong, they do the job. Like literally, if it was a battlefield application or something like that, or you were in like war. But the reality of the situation is, day to day, for personal self-protection, you just want something small. Like this has got what, a 6-inch blade? Like literally, that'll do enough damage. Like literally, and do everything that I need it to do, and it's small enough that I can carry it. Do you know what I mean? Like one of the things that we do with, I don't carry knives, but I'm just saying in the instance, like literally, if you're going to really train to get good with a knife, get good with a smaller knife, because a bigger knife's a bit too cumbersome to really get good stabs in and stuff like that.
The weight when you have a bigger blade that's got some weight, it changes. Like look, for example,
it changes the dynamics.
I got a Tom Brown tracker knife here.
That's a beast. That's a beast.
Knives are very thick, as you can see, and they're very heavy. They're designed like that to be able to split wood, right?
Yeah.
So it acts a bit like an axe as well, right? It's really, really good blade. But if I started moving with this, right, the way that I would use it would be different than I would use a small blade because of the weight behind it, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. That's
dynamic.
That's much what I'm saying. It's kind of like if the dynamics change because of the type of blade that you're using, but a bigger blade is going to be harder to implement than a smaller blade, like literally. And it's exactly like you said. I love it with some of like the FMA machetes and the bolos and the different bits and pieces. And the cookery, like literally having that additional weight. Do you know what I mean? Like literally, so you can really chop in. But whatever you do, invest in good steel, you want something that's at least like 1084, 1065 sort of like bog standard, like literally, but 1095, 1084, I think it's 8460, like literally is another one, like literally. And like I said, Mike can make loads of these knives and stuff out of steel, but invest in a decent one, because what you don't want to do is be like out in the field using it or something like that, and then the fucking thing breaks and you're just screwed. Do you know what I mean? Like literally, like you need a good knife regardless of what's going on. It may look big and scary, but invest in something that's quality, like literally.
Do you know what?
Anyway, I'll stop doing the sales pitch. You get what I mean, mate?
You know what? Next time we do this, I'd like us to do this probably in September, beginning of September. I'd like us to do another podcast and speak, because we're fucking exploded with a conversation here, and we went a bit in all directions. But
yeah, sorry, Julian, I'll get a bit carried away. Like.
me too, and I enjoyed the conversation, mate. It was great.
Yeah, me too.
I'm thinking the stuff I'd like you to speak a bit more as well, like about throwing, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Knife throwing, axe throwings, and the concepts and principles and how to get good at it, and I do a bit of throwing, when I go camping.
I saw on the range, like literally when you were nailing it, it's good.
Yeah. I just focus on very basic stuff, right? I'm not an advanced knife thrower or anything like that. I generally focus on no turn or half a turn or one turn big max, right?
It makes perfect sense. Like literally, like To give you an example, Julian, like, I won't go off on a massive tangent because I know you want to wrap it up. But I've got my own system of Shuriken Jutsu, like literally, so I can license instructors, I can help you get insurance and do different bits and pieces.
Okay.
I've written a couple of books on it. I've got like a book for Kabuto, a book for all of the weapons wires separately, and then a book on Shuriken Jutsu. But the key things are, like you said, you want a decent knife, like literally. The distance changes depending on the length. So this is about 10 inches. So I'd stand roughly about 2.8 meters away, 3 meters away, somewhere around that, to allow when I threw it, like literally with a full rotation, for it to rotate fully and stick. But then you've got to judge the distance every time if you're rotation throwing or even if you're half spinning. My personal like preference and my advice to you as a knife thrower
No
would
spin.
be no spin all day. That's combat throwing. That's what we teach people in ninjutsu and everything else. Even if it doesn't hit them point first and you smash them in the grid with a bit of steel, it's enough to give you that element of surprise, like literally to then move in and do whatever you've got to do. That's it, like literally. So everyone gets really obsessed with getting shuriken to stick. Like I can do no reload, no spin, and hold like 4 knives in my hand and throw one after the other and stuff like that, like literally. But the reality of the situation is, it's that distraction tool, like literally, and just getting it in there. It's not necessarily to like kill them. It was more for psychological misdirection. Or to give you another example, that's kind of what the shuriken are about. Like this is a
I love
Yag.
it. That is
This
brilliant.
this is a Yagyu Shinkagi Ryu one, so it's Juji, like literally, so it's like got needle tips. But these were designed to penetrate, but a lot of the other ones were designed to cut you and bounce off and disappear into the undergrowth, so that it would give you the impression that you've been cut by an invisible opponent, and then you'd go, "Fuck this, I'm out," like literally. There's other versions of throwing implements, like literally. Let me just get this on. This is Tetsumari, like literally. So a Tetsumari is like a spiked ball that you'd put fuse or like smoke powder in, or even set it on fire, and you throw it into the building so it would stick, and it was used as an incendiary weapon, like literally.
Okay.
So there's so many variations of shuriken and different bits and pieces. We've even got videos on our Facebook of us blowing up exploding targets. You can make exploding throwing knives. We call them endo kuken, like literally. There's loads of when it comes to throwing, like you said, we'll definitely have to do a separate podcast on that because I'll take you
Yeah.
through all the different Ryuha Shuriken, all the different throwing techniques. Like I said, I've worked a lot with kata. Like literally, I don't get on well with kata. There's a whole political thing there, like literally, but I
What's
won't go
kata?
into it. Kata's the a knife, axe, and tomahawk throwing association in the UK. It's kind of
Okay.
like they think they've got a monopoly over Western knife throwing. But the situation is, it's basically sort of like pretty poorly run in the way that they do things. Like literally, and a lot of the people who are the best instructors in there don't really agree with the head honcho. Like literally, I had some issues with them. Like literally, so I just broke away, licensed my own system, and got it all squared away under BMABA. Because I'm a ninja anyway, so I don't really need all the Western stuff. It's something that I picked
Yeah.
up through kata. But throwing axes, doing all of that, a lot of it is just mi, it's distancing and understanding how to control the rotation or control the trajectory. Like if I throw a knife no spin, like literally, if I'm fairly close and I want it to come out of my hand and the trajectory for it to come forward and stick straight. But if I'm further, my hand's going to be locked further back because it's got to travel all that distance before it gets to the target. Do you know what I mean? So it's almost like a fractional adjustment that you make in your wrist, like literally to control the trajectory so it flies straight. But it all comes with practice. We call no spin like black magic in the throwing community because you have to do it and do it and do it and do it until it's just muscle memory. You feel it. You know it's going to be a good stick. It's that Mushin no Shen aspect. But yeah, generally as well, if you're going to throw knives, you want simple steel, full steel construction. You don't want anything which has got a handle or G10 or anything like that on it because it'll smash and it'll ruin your knife, like literally. So simple steel shapes, like literally. But anyway, I'll stop going on.
I got a set of throwing knives that's very, very similar to what you just shown me, and it's a set of 3. And one sec, I might have it somewhere here. I got it in this bag, I think. One sec, I think I got it in this bag. We went camping recently.
Oh, that's fair, Julian. Yeah,
Yeah.
we use loads of different throwing knives. This one is actually a Black Mamba. It's a collector's edition, like literally.
Okay.
Which was this was made for me for my wedding by an old friend of mine, Alex Charlton. He had my initials and our wedding date engraved on it. It's just because all my throwing knives are at the dojo, so I've only got this special one here, like literally.
Yeah.
But no, it's like you were saying, like literally, it's kind of like oh, there's loads of different variations of throwing knives and stuff like that. It's just practice. Like when we do the next podcast, I'll make sure that I've got all the bow shuriken and the knives here with me because they're all locked up at the dojo at the moment, and we'll go through it all. Like literally, Even down to that. Like you said for the seminar, we could always meet up, do some throwing, like literally smash out some combatives. You know what I mean? Like literally, this is
that's something we're gonna speak about. I definitely do a like a joint seminar or something where we can kind of bring your weaponry and kind of see how I would what I would take from what you teach and how I would implement it for combatives. That would be
I'd be interested 110%. This is what I mean. Like literally, like I'm interested in combatives anyway, Julian. Like literally. So if we could look at what some of the stuff that I do and whittle it down to its sort of core concepts, I'd be cool with that. That's what I'm all about. Like 110%.
Yeah, cool. And listen, for me it's the same thing. I'm all about learning, and I know when I can learn something, I always gravitate towards people that I can learn something from. And every time I see something, I'm like, oh yeah, that's good. I'm having that. I'm having that, and I'm putting it there, and then I'll do something with it, and I'm quite creative like that. I like
that's what it's about.
Stuff from everywhere and see what I can do with it. So for sure, mate, for sure, we'll do something like that. For now, let's wrap it by do me a favor and just let people know where to find you, your social media. Have you got a website?
Okay.
Are you selling stuff as well? Go on, plug it in, mate.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thanks, Julien. Right, well, basically, I run the Steel Martial Arts Dojo in Rugby, Warwickshire. We've been established for like 9 years. We have a full-time dojo. We have all the weapons and the throwing knife range and all the different bits and pieces in there. Obviously, I sell equipment as well. Generally, if I sell equipment, I don't have it listed on the website just because of the legalities around it. And I tend to like to make sure that I target specifically martial artists who I sell to. If you send me an email from like manabadband@gmail.com, trust me, I ain't serving you. Like literally. And then it's kind of like in custom clothing, we do embroidery, we do vinyl, we do sublimation, we do loads of different bits and pieces. My wife makes jewelry and stuff as well. You can find me on Facebook at Seal Martial Arts. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, and I've got Seal Martial Arts. My website is sealmartialartsdojo.com or www.sealmartialarts.com. Like literally, so it's either Seal Martial Arts Dojo or sealmartialarts.com. Like literally. But it's been a pleasure talking to you, Julien. Like literally, I've really enjoyed it today. To be fair, this is the first time I've ever done a podcast, so I was a bit nervous, like literally, but like it was brilliant. I've really enjoyed it. I'm definitely game to doing it again.
The thing about podcasts, is that depending, sometimes it can be boring, right? I like to just flow with the conversation and just let it flow. Generally, I do like to have some pre-written questions to have a bit of structure to it, but I didn't do it this time. I've been really busy with work. That's why I've not been doing podcasts for a long time. I mean, you remember I used to do 2 podcasts a week before, where I've interviewed some of the top people in the industry, and I will continue to do so. But it's just it's kind of trying to find the time now to do it in between work, because.
I know what you mean, Julien. Life gets in the way with work and everything else. Like literally, like I don't think people often understand like what we have to do as instructors. We're like counselors, like business owners, marketeers, like literally salesmen. Like we have to stay up till like 3-4 o'clock in the morning, fucking working and getting shit done. Do you know what I mean? Like it's hard graft being a martial artist.
You got the family life behind as well. You got to keep your family happy and stuff, and
that's it.
Places. And for me, look, really what I'm focusing on right now is my close protection work and kind of growing within the industry of bodyguarding and close protection. But also, like I said to you, I got my business partners in Lebanon. I've not done this. I've not made a post yet to really announce it officially, because we already got the prices for the courses and stuff like that. And the stuff that we're going to be focusing on is Adrenaline Combatives, right? Bringing my knowledge and my courses out over there. But the big aspect of it as well is the firearm training, right?
Yeah. Trust me, when I saw you doing that, Julien, I was like, I am so game for this shit. Because like I even said it in a post earlier. Like I had it with the RAF and stuff like that. I know how to use an SA80. I could use an AK and like take the safety off and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But firearms, like literally, like if it's Teppo, like the Tanegashima from back in the day, I might be able to use one of them, but I'm definitely no John Wick. Like I need practice, like literally. So I'd be game, like 110%.
That's really the next 3 years for me will be working as much as possible and get as much working within the close protection industry so that I can go to Lebanon several times a year and do my qualifications, because I want to get my instructor qualifications to be able to teach firearms, a pistol, rifle, revolver, shotgun, everything.
Yeah, I was going to say, do they still split it into 3 sections? Because I know it used to be small arms, rifles, and I think it was shotguns or something, wasn't it? Like literally.
Yeah. But not only that, you got combine as well, learning to work with rifle and pistol and how to transition from one to the other, and all the reload and stuff. And then obviously there is CQB training, right, which is close quarter battle, modern warfare inside,
like doing kill houses and shit.
Yeah, kill houses and stuff like that, right? And so all this, I want to basically get my instructor qualification so that I can teach firearm, like a basic firearm instructor, and then advanced firearm instructor, and also so that I can teach CQB, right?
Yeah. I'm not trying to sound patronizing at all, Julien, like literally, but from a business perspective, like literally, like focus on that 110%. You'll make so much bank if you like literally build up a decent close protection company, get some guys underneath you. I think you already have anyway, like literally, but you'll be able to make money. That's what it's about, being in that position where everybody's working for the better goal, like literally, and that's it. Like
it's slowly happening. I have to really focus on where I focus my energy, because I got a few things I want to do, right? So there is the firearm training and teaching, where eventually what I want to do is I want to be teaching full time, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing close protection for a while now, for years, to gain the experience and the money, right? To get the time to do what I want to do. But eventually, at some point, I will only be doing close protection if the money is right, and if it's going to be on my terms, right? Right now, I can't really choose because I'm new in the industry, relatively anyway. It's been 5 years. So what I want really, realistically, is to teach full time and go all over the world and be able to leave somewhere else, right? Being able to live somewhere, and I'm thinking about Thailand or Cambodia or Vietnam, and just go live over there and travel the world to teach and just live in a nice place.
I'd be so game. I was looking at this thing the other day, like literally about buying houses in Japan, like literally, and people renovating them for like $37,000 and stuff like that. And I'm like, let me move to Japan. Like, my God, you know what I mean? Like literally, I don't think it's about England anymore. Like literally, but
nah, it's fucked. Like, this country is getting fucker by the minutes. Right?
This is it. But it's like you said, I think in the grand scheme of things, like literally, it's kind of like with what you're doing with the close protection and stuff like that. Like literally, like if your passion's truly teaching, build what you're doing up with the close protection, like literally, but then run with your passion. Do you know what I mean? Like literally, because I know from close protection, like guarding like oil sheiks and stuff like that, and wandering around while they're doing their shopping and stuff is fucking boring. Do you know what I mean? Like literally.
In this game, close protection, if you're not ex-military, there is a lot of doors that are not open to you, and that is very bad, and it does my head in. Every time I see good jobs for like 400-500 quid a day, you have to be ex-military to do it, right? Otherwise they're not even interested in looking at your CV, and that does my fucking head in, because some ex-military are good, but not all of them. There's some people that are ex-military that are fucking the joke, mate. And I've worked with some of them. Do you know what I mean? I work with the military a lot.
Like the SF guys and stuff like that, like literally, or the Paras and stuff, they're tough as fuck, like literally. But generally, like the infantry and stuff like that, they tend to be cannon fodder. Like literally, they're not that well trained, and like literally, I'm not trying to be judgmental. I'm just saying from my personal experience, you need that specialization. And it's like you said, being a sort of a infantry soldier or something like that shouldn't qualify you to then necessarily be a bodyguard, because somebody like you who's been doing it and teaching and knows how to apply everything, like literally in a realistic sort of way, you've got way more experience than someone who's literally just been at Carit and like, do you know what I mean, going down to Borden and whatever, like literally done like 4 years and chinned it off. Like
100%. And to be honest with you, this is something that I've been told by a few people, right, that are quite well respected in the world of close protection, that said to me, Julien, you belong to the category of elite civilian.
Right? That's it.
Within the world of close protection, because there are people that, like you said, are ex-military that they're just jokers, and I've worked with quite a few of them, right? And then there are people that have been in the military that are fucking solid, serious, that do their job, and that are all about the detail, right? And there are people like that as well.
Oh yeah, you do get some damn good soldiers. It's like you were saying. I think there are some guys that are just born for it. They've got that mentality, and that's the discipline, everything. That's their world, like literally. Because you see when they come out, they're like, I don't know what the hell to do with myself, like literally.
But then also, you got, obviously, the problem with close protection is that a lot of people have got their badge, but there's very few people that know what they're doing, right? And I don't intend to say that I'm fucking this and that, right? Because I'm not super experienced in the world of close protection, right? I got a good level of good mindset and good level of experience because I'm teaching self-protection, and I know awareness. I'm really, really good with my observational skills and stuff, and that gives me an edge, right? I can look after myself. I can do my dynamic risk assessment, my risk assessment. I can do all that stuff. But some people have been doing that for years, and they just got that instinct. They're super good at their job, and these are the people I want to work with. These are the people I want to learn from. Do you know what I mean?
That's it. It's the skill people. I get what you mean. Like, literally, you need those proper operators, and that's exactly it. It's like, it's being in that situation where you're learning from the best. It's the same with martial arts, isn't it? Like, I totally get it, Julian, 110%. But it's like you said, you definitely would fall within the category of like an elite civilian. Like, literally, like, there's really not very much difference between you and somebody who is in the military. Like, literally, like, this is exactly the thing. It's kind of like, I reckon, like, in many respects, like, toe to toe, you could probably go with like a power or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, literally, it's just the fact that you didn't sign your life away, which, to be honest, is the smarter option. Like, literally, do you know what I mean?
100%. I know why I didn't join the military. There is a reason. There's a few reasons, but I know exactly why I didn't join the military, and I wanted to when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I really wanted to follow my father's footstep, and I got several ex-soldiers in my family. Right? It's runs in my blood.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it, and I know exactly why. Right?
I know what you mean. I had the same thing with my grandfather. He fought in like World War II. He was in the RAF and stuff like that. So I was like, right, I'm gonna go down that path. Do you know what I mean? Like, literally. But I think once you start going down it, like, obviously I don't know your reason for it, but I think we probably are much on the same path with that, because like, literally, I got to a point where I looked at what was going on and went, nah, this isn't for me. I'm not being a slave. Like,
I'm not going to kill people in another country just because somebody tells me this is the enemy. Go and shoot them and don't ask questions. That's really.
Do you imagine Keir Starmer coming up to you now and being like, right, Julian, I want you to off that matey? Do you know what I mean? You can go and do that for Keir Starmer, like?
Nah, mate. No.
You know what I mean? There's madness in it. Like, literally, like, I think that's the thing. It's being independent civilians. Like I said, it's empowerment. Like, literally being strong enough to like control your own life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll stop going on, Julien. Sorry.
Say hi. No. So I tell you what, Jamie. Let's cut the live. Let's wrap up. Let's have then a 10 minutes chat, and then I need to go.
Yeah, that's cool, Julien. Don't worry. I've got to sort Lena out and that anyway. Like, literally, I can hear her in the background, sort of like.
People that have been watching this, welcome back. I know I've not done that for quite a while, but there's going to be some more coming, and we'll definitely do that with Jamie again. You know where to find Jamie if you need him, if you want to train with him, if you want to buy some of the equipment he's selling. That's brilliant stuff. I'm going to get involved with you, Jamie, anyway, more and more. We're going to do some good stuff together, I'm sure. So for now, I'm just going to say hi. I'm going to say bye-bye to people, and we'll see you next time.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Julien.